probably are going live now. Yep.
Yep.
But we should play Apex Legends soon. That would be pretty cool. All right, looks like we are live.
It looks like it.
Yeah, we're live. So, welcome peeps and peoples and humans. Some that hate me, hopefully some that love me and like me. This is obviously my channel because it's my channel. Andres Restart, doing the podcast. We like doing it every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm joined by I Am Shifty and What About Nintendo. They are both here. And we are ready to have a great time to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. The links to both of their channels are in the description below. But Shifty, it's been a while since you've been on. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. A new PC means everything's so much easier now, so I'm just like totally on board with everything at this point.
It means he can play Apex Legends with us, and I'm really excited about that.
It does mean that.
We need a 3-man cell, like, so we can be good ninjas.
For real.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Are you a fan of Naruto, actually?
Am I a fan of what?
Of Naruto.
I'm familiar with it. I'm not like I haven't watched like everything on it.
Okay, how's your weeb? Where are you on the weeb scale?
I'll call myself
Do you have a
casual
Crunchyroll?
weeb.
Do you have a Crunchyroll account?
I do not.
Okay, all right. So
I'm a casual weeb is what I'm gonna call it.
casual weeb. Okay.
Casual weeb.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'd say I'm fairly high on the weeb scale. I have a Crunchyroll account. I also have a Verve account. I scoff at the premise of listening and watching an anime with an English dub. So I'm pretty high in the weeb factor. I'm even wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt. Well, that's pretty casual when it comes to anime, but I'm pretty high up there. And it's not to say I don't like English dubs, by the way. Occasionally they're pretty good. I actually watched Assassination Classroom with the English dub, and I thought it was pretty darn good. So, you know, occasionally I can watch the English dub, so I'm not that biased. But yeah, I'm high up on the weeb factor, just so you guys know, in case you couldn't tell.
Gotcha. This was paramount to the discussion, by the way, guys.
Yes, very important.
Had to be said.
Needed to be said.
Definitely ties into something. Don't worry.
It's very important. You gotta know where someone like rolls on the weeb scale.
Yeah, dude. I'm pretty high up the weeb scale. A little lower than you. Don't got no Dragon Ball shirts or anything, but I do got a Crunchyroll account, so you know.
Dude, I got you to be a weeb. I turned you into a
true.
weeb.
You weebified me.
Yeah, so I think that gives me extra weeb points because I'm turning normal people into weebs.
Am I next on the list then?
Maybe.
Yes.
What animes have you seen that you like?
The first ones that come to mind is One Punch Man,
dude.
Devilman Crybaby.
Also,
and
yeah, these are.
Yeah, like those are the first that come to mind, really.
You seem like you're a man of culture, so
yeah.
I'm actually going to recommend you some animes that are maybe the kind of animes that I think even if you were not a weeb, you were to pay attention to it, you'd be like, wow, that's some damn good storytelling. That's some really good cinematics. So 2, I'm going to recommend to you. One is neither of them are done, right? But one has a couple seasons. That's Attack on Titan. You watch that, you'll be enthralled no matter what. I'm sure you've heard of it. And the other one is pretty new. It's ongoing right now. It's Promised Neverland. Oh my god, it is so good.
So good.
So good. It's not like a classic like Shonen Jump anime either. It's different. It's kind of it's very smart. And that's all I'm going to say. Just watch it. Watch the first episode. It's one of those animes that once you see the first episode, like it tells a story. You know what you're getting after the first episode, and you'll be sold. So give it 20 minutes, and if after 20 minutes you don't like it, okay, fine. But if I'm telling you right now, there's no way you will not like it after 20 minutes.
I have convinced many of my friends already to watch that.
Yeah.
I caught up the entire, like I think 6 episodes that were out when I first started watching it. I caught up all in one night, and then next day I was just like, watch it. Everybody needs to watch this.
I told you like the day after I binged it about it, so I'm only like 4 days behind you, or ahead of you, I should say. And I saw all in one night. There was a night I was like, oh, maybe I'll try this out. There's another, just thinking about, oh, maybe I should try another anime. I heard a lot of people liked it, so I gave it a shot, and I didn't sleep that night. So Thank God they only had 6 episodes out at the time, because otherwise I would have been extra screwed. It's really good. So anyone who's listening, check out Promised Neverland. I know this is a Nintendo channel, not a weeb channel. Although if you watch the last Nintendo Direct, you might think it is a weeb thing anyway. But like, it's a great show. Check it out, guys. Even if you hate anime, you'll like the show. I guarantee it. You can ask for your money back if you don't like it, but you probably won't pay
money back guarantee.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like we got some people over already here. Let me say hello to the peeps. 77.3R. Yeah, dude. We're gonna get into some news about the Game Pass, but it looks like at least Ori and Cuphead are coming to the Switch. Maybe other cool stuff. We'll get into that in a bit. Marcos Martins, Bowser, give us Mother 3. That actually would be a pretty good segue into the next topic. We're going to talk about Reggie retiring, but I want to say hi to people first. Severial, yes, Astral Chain does look insane. Brandon just put up a video about it, actually, so I'm giving Brandon a plug. Check it out. The link to his channel is in the description below. So definitely go check that out. I haven't seen it yet because he just published it, but
yeah, it was just like an hour ago.
I'm sure it wasn't terrible, so it'd probably be good.
It's probably okay.
Probably okay.
It might be worth watching. I don't know.
Sabbath, what's up, bro? You got the Fighter's Pass yesterday? Oh, dude. How's that Rex Me costume? Oh, Severio said if you watch Pokemon the series as a 6-year-old, you are objectively a weeb. Interesting. That is an interesting theory right there.
Guess I'm guilty.
I guess we're all weebs then. Because
when I was young, Pokemon killed every anime for me until I was 18. I literally hated anime until I was 18 because of Pokemon.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I saw one episode and I was like, this is shit. And I never watched anime until I was 18.
Very different for me, man. So, like, I don't remember how everything came together, what Pokemon game I got first, if I watched a show first or the cards. Like, I got into all of it. But when it comes to the show, like, I was one of those kids who, when Ash was finally getting to the Indigo Plateau, right, you know, like on Saturday mornings, you'd watch Pokemon Saturday mornings, and I had my Charizard shirt on, I was there, and I was like, yeah, Ash is going to fight with Charizard. Like, I was, like, super pumped. And then my mother came in, when she was still in my life, she came in, and she said, the doctor said that it's bad for you, it's from the devil. And I got really, really upset. She got me really freaked out. I ended up throwing my shirt away out of anger, and then taking it back. But, yeah, like, I loved Pokemon, man. But it was so... Back then, though, our culture, our society was not, like, prepared for such a cultural phenomenon. So a lot of parents were like, oh, that's the devil. Oh, it's not good for you. You don't, like, because it wasn't really, like, something known. Like, why are so many kids into this? This makes no sense. It's never been this, anything's never been that popular before for kids. So people were like, oh, this is weird. But I think most people here would agree that there's nothing wrong with Pokemon.
Nah.
I hope not, at least. If you do, well, you probably got to go to another channel, because the big topic for today is all about our Gen 8 predictions. So,
right, yeah.
Quick thing before I'm gonna try to get through the chat, and then we're gonna get the thing started. But just to talk a little bit about Pokemon for the beginning, though. Where do you guys stand on Gen 8 getting revealed? Like, I know it could happen at any point this year. I'd say, like, the very latest would be E3, but when do you think it's gonna get revealed? It's no secret that I think it's getting revealed this week. Mm-hmm. Right? Might not happen, but I've totally been hyping it up. I've totally been thinking it. I think it's going to happen, but I do want to stress that it might not be next week. Nintendo and Pokemon Company, they always throw curveballs at us. We never really know. We thought for sure there'd be a January Direct, and there wasn't. Right? We got a Direct 2 weeks into February instead. So, you know, you never really know. But I think it's happening this week for a lot of reasons. We might save that for later, but just kind of your gut feelings. What do you guys think is going to happen?
It's so hard because there's actually a lot of rumors about it being next week. But the thing is, this week. I guess it is this week. Yeah. I'm so used to saying next week that I forgot that it's this week now. But you know what I meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so hard because there's been so many wrong leaks lately that I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's just been one after another. So it's hard to say, but I'm fairly confident that they'll show it off this week. Say 70% confidence levels.
Okay. Where do you stand, Shifty?
I feel like if it's not this week, it's definitely going to be before E3 because the Pokemon Company never really announces anything at the same time as Nintendo.
Yes.
Like they don't typically announce Pokemon in a direct with other games, and they don't typically do it at E3. So I feel like if they don't do it this week, it's going to be just on their own in the middle of like that time span.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's more I want to give on that, like with the reasonings. Like last generation, they announced it February 26th. Like we got name drops February 26th, and then Generation 6 was January 8th. And that since before that it was at different times in the year, later into the year, but before that there weren't simultaneous worldwide releases. Starting with Generation 6, we started getting simultaneous worldwide releases. So I don't think I think those apply. You know, I kind of think that for that reason alone, I think it's fairly likely we'll get a reveal earlier rather than later. But we'll save that more for the because the topics later on. We'll get back into that. But all right. So you both are if gun to your head, if you had to say this week or later, you're both saying this week, right? But not like 100% confident.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I'm just not totally confident on this week, but I mean,
but if you were to give a percentage,
like I'm gonna be generous and say 40%.
Okay, that's fair. So then you're under the 50. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. To be honest with you, I'm gonna say 60.
Okay. 60. Wait, how am I the highest? This is it's because I went first and gave it really generous.
Yeah, I'm 60% that it'll be. It's weird though because I've been talking about it a lot and I made videos about it. So people are probably thinking that I'm thinking like it's 95. Like I think it's like 60 because you never really know. You never know until it happens. But yeah, I'm like fairly confident. So let's see what you guys are saying. Ethan Cantu, if you have more than 25 days of anime scene recorded on my anime list, you're probably a weeb. Yeah, I would agree with that. Mark Jacobs, what is up? I'm pretty good. Vilbeard, let's cancel discussion and watch Mazinger Z together. I don't even know what Mazinger Z is.
I don't know what that is.
Is that another anime that's good? What?
I was gonna say I thought that was something I didn't know about and you guys probably knew about.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Sonic X is the best anime ever. Okay. I've never seen it. I don't think it is.
The Sonic animes are pretty good, but I've never seen them.
Neither have I. Sonic's
always been advertised as like a pretty darn cool character, so I'm sure there's at least some good moments there. There's an F-Zero anime. You guys probably have seen the GIF with Captain Falcon doing the Falcon Punch. It's like the size of a planet, and it's so epic, so epic. I should see that anime though. I've never seen it. Let me see. Scissor22, read the DNC and Cinestarter post on the Pokemon Instagram page and look for the hints. Ooh, I gotta check that out. Yeah, I guess someone subscribed, Sabbath, but I gotta fix my alerts because it's not visible right now.
Yeah. Alerts kind of don't always work.
They're inconsistent.
Yeah. I always go and hit the test button before every stream because sometimes it just won't work and I'll have to remove it and put it back in. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying. Sanish Joe has a really good theory. So he's saying that maybe the reason why Reggie is retiring is because he's running for president for the United States of America.
Yes.
He's going to replace Trump. I probably would vote for him. I probably would vote for him, but I feel like real talk, if he were to actually run for president, I think a lot of people might get jaded by his political views because we all have different political views. It's I don't know. But I probably would vote for him just because he's Reggie.
I'd vote for him just so I can say I met a president and I can be like, yes!
You met Reggie, haven't you?
Yeah?
Oh, save that. We're jumping right into it. Just save it. Mike Rat, Reggie steps down as president of Lieutenant America to be president of the United States. That's exactly what's happening. You guys got it. You guys are on point here with the theories.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, "Make America Reggie again." Yes.
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 That's the saying. That's the slogan.
Yes. Golden Pika. Hello. All right. So let's get into the topics now. Reggie has announced his retirement. He put up a cool little video last week. It was very heartfelt, very warming, but also maybe a little somber. I know a lot of us are kind of a little, bent out of shape about it because he's been kind of a part of our lives for so long, a part of the Nintendo magic, right? But he's retiring officially this April, and Doug Bowser, he's been kind of like apprenticing a little bit, and he's gonna be the next Nintendo of America president. So that's basically the news. I, for one, am happy he's going out on a high note. A lot of amazing moments. Probably touch on a few of them, during this discussion. But I'm excited about it. Where do you guys stand? Shifty, I guess now if you want to talk about how you met Reggie. So jealous. I might never get to meet Reggie now.
Right? Same.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience of meeting with him was because of the Mario Odyssey launch at Nintendo NYC.
Wow.
I was among the top 25 or so people there. So he just kind of showed up and just started meeting everyone one by one. So I had like a mini conversation with him, and I have a picture somewhere. I could probably post it on. I think I posted it on Twitter a long time ago, but it's just us doing the direct pose that Iwata
that is so cool.
did. So we just had that pose, and it was a really cool experience altogether.
That is so cool. So you know what this means, right?
What?
I have to go to the Nintendo New York store for the March 29th launch for Yoshi, just at the small chance he decides to go there, because it may be the last big Nintendo release before he retires.
I try to go to every big release. I think because I went to the Switch release, I also met Doug Bowser.
That is epic.
Oh, wow.
That is epic. Well, did you talk to him at all? Or just a handshake? Or
yeah, handshake and like a mini conversation, because there was a guy, he was I think second who bought the Switch, and he was opening it just in front of the store so everyone could look at it, and Doug Bowser stopped because of that, and he started talking to all of us and just
that's
interacting
cool.
with everyone.
That's so cool. So you were also there when C&D, well, he was first, right? Did you meet C&D?
Yeah, I've met him multiple times. I helped him with something a few times here and there and that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, so Reggie's retiring. This is the end of an era. I'm not at all concerned. I think Nintendo has everything together. They're operating very well, and I think Reggie is leaving the company in good hands. So I'm personally not concerned about that. Are you guys like at all worried about how Nintendo's going to represent themselves or handle things going forward now that Reggie's stepping down, or no?
No. Not really. And even if you look at Doug Bowser's work in particular, he was head of EA at a time where EA was actually kind of popular with some people.
Right, he left a few years ago. EA's like a shitstorm now, but a few years ago it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, and that's when he was there.
Right.
And he's also what was it? He was head of marketing at Nintendo for a while, so you can kind of attribute the Switch's better advertising
Switch's
with him.
Marketing
maybe
is the best marketing Nintendo may have ever had. So
exactly.
That's all good. That is all good. So I'm right there with you. I'm not at all concerned. I think everything is fine. I think Nintendo's actually really smart about how they're raising up the next generation. Like, just look at, for example, the Splatoon 2 team, right? Like, Splatoon is from the young core that's working at Nintendo, right? That's a great new IP. I mean, now it's like, what, 5 years old? But you get my point, though. Like, that's a product of Nintendo building up the younger talent within their company, and they're thinking ahead. They're being really smart about this, I think. So I'm not at all worried about Nintendo's future. I think they're continually proving to us that they're doing a really good job. I mean, even with Breath of the Wild, Onuma wasn't the main director, right? There was someone else. I forget his name. I probably should learn his name because he's probably going to be handling Zelda moving forward from now on. And Breath of the Wild is, of course, Onuma had a big stamp on it. Of course, he was overseeing everything, but Breath of the Wild is arguably the best Zelda of all time. Arguably, we'll save that for another discussion, but I think we can all agree that it is definitely one of the most successful Zeldas of all time. Actually, I think sales-wise, it already is the most successful Zelda of all time. Minus having, enhanced ports and versions, but like as the original version release, I think it's already the best sold out of all of them. So Breath of the Wild, my point I'm making is simply that Nintendo's getting better and they're raising up younger people to. They're passing on the torch, and they're doing a great job. So I'm not at all concerned.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, I feel like his past just kind of makes me feel like secure in his position.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have much to worry about at all, I think.
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna be fine. I totally agree. So, is there anything you guys want to kind of bring up about Reggie? Are you guys feeling sad? Are you okay with it? Or are there any sort of moments that you want to like bring up that you thought were just like super epic? Or are you just done with Reggie? Done.
How can you forget the Reginator? How can you forget that whole Reggie Fils-Aimé thing for E3?
That was
the
cool.
best. Oh, it was so good. There's so many good Reggie. I feel like Reggie was great because he wasn't afraid to be in the public view. He wasn't afraid to like do skits and funny stuff and talk to the fans and interact with people. He wasn't one of those higher ups that just kind of sat back and, you know, did everything behind closed doors. He was always out in front. He was the face of Nintendo of America, and that was just so cool.
He's part of the big three. The big three,
Yeah.
Shigeru Miyamoto, Iwata, and Reggie, like they were like
Mhm.
trifecta of personalities, and they all did like little skits together, and it kind of that's something that Nintendo kind of always had on the other companies, Sony and Microsoft. Like no one really cares about the other guys, like and what they do. Like if they were to do a skit, we'd be like, oh, that's awkward. They don't know what they're doing, right? Like Nintendo, like these people are like superstars, right? Like we are excited for them. Like we want to see them, their personalities, you know, like they're cool. They're cool. You're right. You're dead on about Reggie. He's a cool guy. I'll say that he's the manliest personality in the gaming industry.
There you go.
Yeah, he is. Yep. I feel good about that.
I think for me, my favorite moment was the Smash for Wii U Invitational when he told Hungrybox,
Yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was good.
That was epic. That was epic. He did not kick his ass.
No,
But,
not even close.
But it was an epic moment. It was an epic moment. Just the premise of even using ass, right, at E3 like that. That's not something you'd see from other representatives. Like, but with Nintendo, they were able to do that, and which is really really cool.
I loved the whole skit for E3 2014, like the whole presentation, and I love the moment when they asked for Mother 3, and he's just like, no, screw you, take a fireball to the face.
Yeah, no, the scream is like repeating my head, like ah, like it was so cool. The self-awareness I always appreciate, and I do have to bring this up. You know, are we ever gonna hear about that? Like I feel like I've heard. I think for some people have said that the reason why the Mother 3 localization didn't happen because at one point it was gonna happen, but because of, you know, there seems that there's a greater sensitivity to certain issues now, that certain concepts conveyed in Mother 3 would probably cause a stir and controversy, so Nintendo didn't go forward with the localization. If that's the case, you know, Mother 3, Reggie did say, you know, eventually we'll hear about Mother 3, right? We haven't. So is that going to just be something that's just we're going to forget about forever? It's going to be like the Half-Life 3, like we're just never ever going to hear about it again, and that's it? Or is something going to happen with that, and is Reggie going to be the guy to say, hey, before I go, in April, Mother 3.
That would be the best send-off ever. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Right, it's probably not realistic.
Yeah, I kind of have the same view on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I did actually, there was this interesting thing. I heard a report, and I may butcher this news, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt, because I didn't look up this article. This is just kind of off the top of my head. But I heard a report, and if you guys could correct me, please, that it may be Nintendo. No, it was a Tokyo gaming company is hiring talent for a big RPG. I think that's what I heard. Did you guys hear about that too?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I didn't really look into it, but I saw.
Yeah, I should have. I didn't. Probably look into it after this. But did you hear about that, Shifty?
Yeah, I heard about that, but in the same way that in the same way as like most people, where I just saw it on Twitter, but I didn't really give it the time of day.
Right, especially because we don't know if it's actually from Nintendo, right? Like, it may. Did it mention if it would be on Switch at all, or?
I think it was a Switch exclusive or something.
Okay, that makes sense because it was coming from the Nintendo sites. So, the first thing that's always going to come to mind, Mother 3, they're remaking Mother, like they're making, it's Earthbound 64, like that's what it is, it has to be. But it could be anything. It could be anything. So I guess we'll see what that materializes to. But, just to kind of, so before moving to the chat and then move on with the topics, one of my favorite moments with Reggie, well, there's a couple. And I loved everything when back at E3 2004. He was very hardcore back then. That's when Nintendo showed off Twilight Princess, Resident Evil 4, Metroid Prime 2, and the Nintendo DS. Like, that was a fantastic E3, one of the best E3s ever. But another really cool moment was the fight for that they had like a CGI fight. Like Water and Reggie were fighting each other, and it was super epic. And it was all to hype up Smash Brothers. Like, I thought that was just a really cool moment. I never thought that they would go so far. You would see men in suits fighting, and it was actually not just men in suits, but Nintendo executives fighting like Matrix Dragon Ball Z style. To hype up Smash Brothers. That was such a cool thing that no other executive from any other gaming company would ever even dream of doing. So cool. Love that. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, they were announcing the Mii's.
Yeah. It was so cool. Great. Man, I don't think that Doug Bowser is going to be in moments like that. You never know, maybe. We at least got that random Twitter picture. I think that was when he first. It was it might be a couple years old already, but like he had like a picture. It's like, oh hi, I'm Bowser. I'm Doug Bowser, and then there was like a Mario and Luigi doll like tied up in the background.
Right.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Tied up with a GameCube controller cord.
Yeah, that was cute. That was pretty cool.
He also has that picture where he's what was it, Take Your Son to Work Day with Nintendo Labo, and he has Bowser Jr. sitting next to him on a chair.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That's so cool. That's so cool. I have to look that up now.
Like, I think he could, but all we've seen so far is just pictures and like the occasional video with him in it.
Yeah. I also have to say that it looks like Nintendo's moving in a different direction with their directs. Like, they're relying more on the games to hype us up rather than theatrics. Because I know some of you may not like what I'm about to say, but I believe it to be the truth, so I'm going to say it. During the Wii U era, Nintendo oftentimes had very little to show off. So what they did instead, they created really cool theatrics to kind of cover up the fact that all they had was Star Fox Zero for E3. Right? Like, like, it's just kind of the situation, I thought. And now, as cool as those theatrics would be, they don't really need them because now they've fixed up their game situation to the point where there's pretty much always going to be games to announce. They have so many games coming to Switch, and since it's now the Switch is a combination of handheld and home console, I imagine that Nintendo's going to easily be able to support themselves without any third-party support, but they also have third-party support and indies, so there's always going to be games to show off, so they'll never even really have time for those theatrics anymore.
Right. But the directs seem to be handled by, I think his name is Koizumi?
Yeah, Koizumi.
Yeah, he's doing them now. He's been in like a direct.
He's a very fresh dude. He communicates well. He's cool looking, but he's not doing anything extra. He's just announcing stuff. Yeah.
No, the most extra thing is the snapping of the finger, and that's not much at all.
Right. It's cool, but it's very subtle. It's nothing extravagant. But do you guys agree with me though about the whole like Wii U situation with the theatrics making up for it, or is that just my own like negative perspective?
I could definitely see that being the case. They needed something to do anything to get people hyped about the Wii U. So,
I mean, I do think it was more than that. I don't think they were like, oh, we have no games, so let's just create an extravagant like theatrics to make up for it. I think they were like, oh, okay, we want to kind of change up our image a little bit. We want to give something to our fans. Like, it was more than just, hey, we are sucking right now, so we need to do something to kind of add to it. But I do think that they wanted to make their shows more impressive, and I think it was the kind of like, you know, when they kind of with the whole like the Star Fox show and then the whole Smash fight, like I think that was a part of Nintendo trying to kind of turn the tides a little bit with their perception, since, you know, with the whole casual Wii era and then of course the GameCube Kitty era, they really wanted to sort of start changing things, and I think that kind of led up into the Switch, and now most people think the Switch is a cool system. It's not considered like a kiddie device, you know, or a casual device. It's something that most gamers I think is a pretty cool thing. So I think Nintendo did a good job over the years, slowly changing the perception of what Nintendo is now.
I think that the skits they used to do was also trying to kind of make it seem like whatever game they were showing off was this massive big deal. Because you remember Star Fox Zero had the whole puppets thing, and then you move on to like Breath of the Wild when they got the entire thing was just Zelda. There was basically nothing else. So I think like those skits were their attempt at trying to take the small amount of games they had and try to make them like kind of build them up to be this big important thing.
Right. Except Star Fox Zero is a low budget game with low textures, not many modes.
Right, but the anime they made of that was better than the game itself.
Well, yeah, it was their attempt to try to make it like a big thing, even if it wasn't.
I did like Star Fox Zero, by the way, but I have to admit the controls are not something I want to go back to.
No, yeah, I didn't even finish it. I didn't want to.
Yeah, I forced myself to beat it. It's like a 6 out of 10 game for me.
Oof. That's not far off from the average. But let's see what you guys kind of say in the chat, and then we'll move forward. I'm dying. Those fish and chips are giving me gas. Can't talk. So the Science Show saying, I was a bit worried at first, but Doug seems perfect. No, I'm not concerned. I think Doug's going to do a great job. Sal is saying he looks like a chill dude. I agree, he does look like a chill dude.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
He was nice. Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Joe's saying, I hope there will be a direct before Reggie retires and he hosts it. That would be interesting. Like I said earlier, it would be really cool if like Reggie had like one more announcement. I was suggesting Mother 3, but we all agree that's highly, highly unlikely. But it'd be cool if there's like something else to show. And I do kind of think we might get maybe like a mini direct or something like late March, early April, because we are getting the Smash update. And currently there aren't any big published Nintendo games for April or May, so maybe they'll announce like a port or something that's coming around that time. How do you guys feel about that, by the way? Do you guys agree with me that there could be like a mini direct March, April time to announce a couple more little things?
There's usually 2 directs before E3. At least there have been for a couple years, so the mini direct wouldn't be out of the question, I think.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
They could also just suddenly change it up and just have one. I mean, we know how Nintendo is.
Right.
You never really know.
As soon as you think they're being consistent, they change everything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You might be better off just predicting the opposite every time of what makes sense. Yep, exactly. Yeah, Samus, we talked about the Reggie versus the Water thing. It was so cool. Yeah, my grab, he's saying it was one of the best Smash Bros. I've seen with the Miis. It was awesome. Really was. Samus saying Koizumi also worked on Mario Odyssey, Ocarina of Time, Amadora's Mask. He's got a great track record.
Yeah, he does.
Scissor, I can't read your Instagram post of Diancie on the Sinnoh Starters and tell me your opinion on that. I need a link before I haven't seen it.
I'm on Instagram, on Pokemon's Instagram. I'm like, where is this? I don't see it.
Yeah, if anyone has a link, post it. Actually, let me put live chat so I can see links just in case. Mastermind, yo, what is up, buddy? How you doing? Owen Fowler, Pikmin 4? Pikmin 4, anybody?
The game, God.
I don't know. I think I'm inclined to believe what we've heard from King Zell that there's a Pikmin 3 port coming, so I think we'll see a Pikmin 3 port before Pikmin 4. Where do you guys stand on that? How do you guys feel about Pikmin 4 or Pikmin 3 port?
I think the Pikmin 3 port is possible, but I also think that Pikmin 4 might have turned into Hey Pikmin because of how long it's been, and that makes me sad if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that question kind of keeps popping up.
Weird though, because Miyamoto actually said that it wasn't Hey Pikmin. Like he was people asked him if it was Hey Pikmin. He said no, it was something else. He said he's still working on it after Hey Pikmin was already out. So I'm like, what the heck?
How long does it take?
I don't know.
I'm gonna see if I can pull up that article real quick. What should I Google?
I don't know.
Miyamoto says
Pikmin,
Hey
maybe?
Pikmin is not Pikmin.
Yeah. I reconfirmed this a little bit ago because just a few days ago I was talking about it on somebody's Discord and we pulled up a link and found it. So
I'm trying to find something. Damn it. I'm just on the GameSpot boards. That's not going to get me anywhere. Reddit, Polygon. This is from June 2017. Miyamoto, Pikmin 4 is still in progress. This is from June 4, 2017. Pikmin 4 is still in progress. Let me just put this here. I'm assuming you guys can see that. Pikmin 4 is still in progress. Nintendo Chief Creator Shigeru Miyamoto told Eurogamer this week during E3. So to follow up with a statement to say, we can confirm the Pikmin 4 is still in development. This is all we can confirm the time. The game was first mentioned in July 2015. Well, fans look for the taste of Pikmin before whenever Pikmin 4 hits. Oh, okay, so yeah, I mean, I think there's pretty much confirmation that it's not Hey Pikmin. Hopefully, right?
Well, that's the best case scenario for me.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I hope. Okay, Scissors posted the link. For the Instagram thing. Let me see if I can find that. All right. I haven't seen this at all yet, so let's see what this has to do, if this gives us any hints about Pokemon Gen 8. Okay, I see a Diancie. I see Pokemon Diancie can create diamonds instantly by compressing the carbon in the air between its hands. Could come in handy if you've got an important question to ask your Pokemon Valentine. Feel free to tag someone who could use a hint.
I don't know what this has to do with Gen 8, but
Pokemon Heart and Pokemon Darkness Soul.
Pokemon Heartbreak.
Does this play a video? Okay, yeah, it's just, her animation. I
Pokemon
don't know what hint. Wait, feel free to tag someone who could use a... Oh, but they put a winky face in a hint. Oh my god. Oh, Gen 8 confirmed.
There you go.
I don't know, guy. I don't know.
No, there's no hint here.
The Diamond and Pearl remix.
Oh,
there
god. I would actually be upset because I want Gen 8, but I don't know. I feel like it's like nothing. It tells us nothing at all. But I'll tell you this. Okay, so you guys see that? You see how it says someone could use a hint? Winky face. That means basically nothing at all. I 100% agree. I'm not crazy. I get it, guys. I'm not. I know. But I'm gonna show you a couple other things that I did on my Twitter. Just bear with me. A couple other little things I want to show you. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you my Twitter page real quick. All right. So they posted this picture of Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Tomorrow, a new Detective Pikachu trailer is coming. So there's a trailer coming out, which is really exciting. Also tomorrow, the world will say Pika Pika. Kind of random, but okay, still really cool. It's related to the trailer, I get that. But then they say, also tomorrow, that's it. 2 things is plenty. Also nothing. They're literally saying nothing else, guys. Don't expect anything else. But at the same time, why even bring up, also, there might be something. Oh, no, just kidding. You know? Kind of, like, that kind of throws me off a little bit. And I have a notification because in a chat. Let me see where it was. Let me see. There we go. Alright, so I was just joking around with this, right? But, okay, so there was Cerebi posted something about Pokemon Day. And it said Pokemon Day 2019. And the Pikachu was winking! It was winking! Why is it winking? Why is Pikachu winking? So, these are all, like, little things that might mean something, but also I could 117,000% be overanalyzing, and it means absolutely nothing at all.
The Pokemon company just likes winking.
I think
They're
they
just
like
a big fan
trolling
of
the
winking.
hell out of us. That's what I think.
I think Detective Pikachu is also just trying to tease people like us who just look into everything.
and then we just make another 17 videos about it. Oh, Pikachu winked. Jenny confirmed King and Queen. And then, like, that just that just markets Pokemon more for them.
Right. You see how it is? Since it's Detective Pikachu, you're supposed to be a detective as well and find all the secrets.
You saw those pictures? I circled them myself. I scanned them with my phone, and I'm excited, guys. But look, real talk. As much I believe it, I do think it's going to be this week. But I want to stress that it might not happen. Okay, Nintendo throws curveballs all the time, so just don't cry tomorrow or Wednesday if it doesn't happen. All right, it might be later, so just keep that in mind. But I am like anticipating something. Okay, I don't want to kill anyone's dream. So we'll save that for now. Let's move on to the next topic. Xbox on Switch. Oh my god, that's even crazier. No, it's not. Gen 8's the most amazing thing ever. Just you wait, guys. Just you wait. Actually, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat, because I think you guys probably have some things to say about all those random little hints that are maybe not hints at all. Let me see. How many times I've read that? Pokemon love and Pokemon hate. Yeah, Sabbath might be right. Oh, Scissor saying it might be hinting a Gen 4 remake.
I think that's giving the post a little too much credit.
Maybe. We also know that we're getting new Pokemon for this next game. That's been confirmed. This next Pokemon game that's coming out this year will give us new Pokemon. That pretty much confirms a new generation, right?
Yeah. Why would they have 2 remakes in a row? That'd be weird.
That'd also be weird, yeah. That'd be really weird. Actually, it's kind of almost like 3 remakes in a row, because Ultra Sun and Moon is basically Sun and Moon just remixed.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think it's... I love Pearl and Diamond, okay? I love Pearl and Diamond. Pearl and Diamond is what got me into competitive Pokemon, okay? Like, I love Pearl and Diamond, but I think it's Gen 8 first, and maybe next year or the year after a Gen 4 remake might be more reasonable. Well, you never know. Like as we were saying, Nintendo and Pokemon companies throw curveballs all the time, but we'll see. Let me see. Computer robots. Hey man, what's up? Vilbeard. I mean, he's saying it could be related to the TCG though. The trademark includes consoles and video games. Justin Martinez. I don't see the reason as to why they're putting Xbox games on the Switch. I feel the Nintendo is lacking on games. What? Let me. I don't see the reason as to why they are putting Xbox games on the Switch. I feel the Nintendo is lacking. Do you mean not lacking on games?
Maybe he's talking on the business perspective for Xbox. Like, why would Xbox want to do that? But I feel that the thing with Xbox is that it's clear they're not trying to compete anymore on the console space. They're trying to compete more as a service. So they're trying to beat out things like PlayStation Now and like I guess whatever Google's going to be doing soon, since they seem
Project Stream or whatever they have.
Yeah. So Xbox is kind of benefiting by putting it on Switch, because what other portable system does Xbox have right now?
Right.
They can put their games on there, and people who are on Switch, which the install base is growing pretty fast. I think it's like a pretty good business move altogether.
Yeah. And, I mean, they've been kind of dabbling in this sort of idea for a while already, because there's basically no Xbox exclusive, because most of their games are on PC, right? There's a few exceptions, a few.
Because Xbox Play Anywhere.
Right, exactly. Like, once they announced that a few years ago, like, that was the beginning of them.
The beginning of the end.
Just saying,
yeah.
In a way, but I think it may lead to the Xbox brand lasting longer, because it's going to be more about a digital surge, which is very forward-thinking, because that is probably where we're headed, right? So there's that. I mean, we may get to a point where TVs are just super powerful computers that they run everything, right? There is no additional hardware needed to run games, and it's all purely just... or even streaming, right? Like, they may not even need hardware, because streaming will get so good with our internet connections that it's no longer about power. Like, they can create whatever game they want, and they'll have the servers be that'll be powerful enough to play it, whatever. So then every company, including Nintendo, will have to probably be fully digital. Maybe they could offer up, like, toys or collection things like Amiibo. Like, I think Amiibo is probably going to be the closest thing to like
having
having collectibles,
controllers.
Yeah, stuff like that. But consoles and game cartridges and things like that are probably going away. I mean, they already are. It's all scaling back. Well, not consoles, obviously, but like games, like digital sales are taking up a big portion of that. I bought Smash digitally. I bought Let's Go digitally because I didn't want to get out of my butt and buy it at a store. And I'm okay with that. I'm having it on my Switch. I can access it at any time. I don't have to switch out games to play those games. So I appreciate that. I also understand there's a whole collection aspect, but just to bring things back, I think Microsoft is just being very forward thinking with this, and I'm not complaining. Come on, man. So just to go over the report real quick, this isn't officially confirmed by like Nintendo yet, but this is coming from so many like reputable sources. This is happening. Like this is definitely happening. It's like 99% basically, right? You guys with me there, or you guys have minor disagreement?
I mean, I think it could happen, but I'm not convinced on at least certain parts of it. Yeah, I'll say I'm 40 to 50% confident.
Okay, Shifty?
I'm thinking probably somewhere around the same.
So you guys think there's a chance that this Xbox Game Pass thing is not happening at all?
Oh yeah, I think there's a big chance that it won't happen.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's very. I think it's just as much likely as it is unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with Game Pass is that not every game is available on PC. Like, I just recently got a 30-day free pass just to try it out, just to see how it is. And, like, pretty much all the games work on Xbox, but only the Microsoft ones, or at least most of them, work on PC.
Okay.
So a lot of the third-party ones don't. So it makes me wonder, if it did come to Switch, how limited would it be?
Right.
Interesting. Let me see. I guess I already deleted that article. So, I forget who it was, but it seems like the belief is that what's going to happen is that this Game Pass is not going to become available for Switch until 2020. But basically, some games are going to be coming that will be natively made for the Nintendo Switch, like Ori, why is Cuphead? Yeah, thank you. Cuphead. Like those, it seems like those games are coming. It's less confident, but it's been brought up, the idea of maybe Halo, Forza, and Gears coming, and it's also believed that Rare content will be coming. They suggested probably Rare Replay, which would be a dream come true. Like that would all be really cool. And the Xbox Live will also be coming, right? And that's also listed at the Game Developer Conference. Like they took that down, so that's real, right? They took it down. I don't know if maybe they canceled the service, but there was talks. That's real, that Microsoft is planning to talk about their Xbox Live service coming to Nintendo Switch. That was part of the schedule. That happened, and they took it. That it's no longer publicly visible, but that was there. So I believe it. I think it's happening. But there's gonna be Xbox Live, and there's gonna be Game Pass. And with Game Pass, most of the games that aren't already natively ready running on the Switch, it's all gonna be streamed. So Microsoft is going to be launching a streaming service. I think it's iXCloud or something.
xCloud, I think.
xCloud, thank you. xCloud, and through that, Game Pass is going to be able to run most of the games that are on Game Pass. And I also don't think, personally, that what's available on Xbox One Game Pass is going to be the same on Switch. There's going to be omissions. So that's where I'm kind of standing with that. But I mean, I think this is happening. I'm really excited about it, and I think we'll probably hear an official announcement around E3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of it. I'm just wondering, they have to get at least most of the games if they're going to charge the same price. Because I feel like once you start taking away games, it takes away the value of it, and I'm wondering if they won't. They'll have to have enough there that still warrants that same.
The report says over 100 games will be available from the beginning with Game Pass.
Okay.
I mean, 50 of those games could be shovelware for all I know, but
right,
over 100 games is a lot.
And we need to know that the cloud system's going to work well enough that it's going to not be complete shit. And we're not going to be over here with the worst lag. It's not going to be like Smash Online of playing every game, because I would not I would die.
Hopefully not. But I'll say this much: they don't consider Rare Replay one game. I'm gonna make that clear because Rare Replay has, instead of putting Rare Replay as one collection, it's 30 games, but they don't put all of them on Game Pass. They take like 10 of them from Rare Replay and then they put them onto Game Pass as separate games.
That is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to stress though that part of the report says that some games will be coming to the Switch like as actual individual retail releases. Right. I will pay $60 easy for Rare Replay. Oh yeah, day one.
I think day one it was $40 too, so that's probably what you would expect to spend.
How crazy would it be if at E3 they announced Rare Replay to come out this year? That would be so epic. That would be. That would be one of the most amazing things ever, ever. Like I would be sky high. I don't know who saw my Link's Awakening reaction. My scream for Rare Replay might be louder.
What? Louder than that?
No, you're right. No, the moment I saw Link, I was like, oh, that was amazing. Actually, Shifty, how do you feel about you want to just randomly give us your thoughts on the Direct by the way? Just I never heard what you had to say on it.
Yeah, because by then my PC exploded and didn't want to work anymore. But basically, I think my reactions are just kind of the same as most people. I loved Astral Chain. I loved Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening was my first portable Zelda ever. So...
I never played it.
Oh, you never did? Well,
no, it's one or two Zeldas I never played. I didn't play the Oracle games, and I didn't play Link's Awakening.
I didn't finish the Oracle games, I think is what it is. But I loved Link's Awakening back then, so I'm most likely gonna love this one just as much. And what is it? Mario Maker 2. That's awesome as well. So, and Fire Emblem also. Like most of the games in there, I was pretty into. There was maybe like a few of the JRPGs that I wasn't feeling as much as the others, but
the Weeb show
mostly was into it. Yeah,
Weeb show. I like the Weeb part of Fire Emblem Three Houses. I think that looks really cool.
I think that's the best part.
The Dragon Girl, she's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I called her what was it? Lollipalutena.
That seems fair. That seems fair for sure. Just to quickly summarize. Yeah, I love the Direct. I think it was great. I was expecting Prime Trilogy, maybe Pikmin 3, maybe Animal Crossing. None of that happened, but I got Mario Maker 2, Zelda, and Astral Chain instead, so that's fine. Like, for me, it's not about getting predictions right. It's about just seeing stuff that's cool. And I saw that. Astral Chain and Link's Awakening are my second. Link's Awakening being number 2. Those are my second and third most anticipated games for 2019. And Mario Maker is also my top 5. So I'm pretty excited about that. Fire Emblem might be a little lower because I haven't played Fire Emblem in years, but it still looks really good. So I'm really excited about it. I think it was great. By the way, my most anticipated game for 2019 is Pokemon Generation 8. I think it's going to be a big freaking deal. Big freaking deal. So, where are we? Where are in the topics here? Let's just dial it back a little bit. So, like, you guys are 50-50 on it, basically. You're not as confident about... I'm like, pretty much sold. I'm sold that this is happening. I'll be surprised if it isn't.
I'll say this much. If it's true, I'm totally subscribing to Game Pass, and I'm using it on everything I have. Like, I love the idea of it. I just don't know how possible it is.
Right. Well, I think it's all going to come down to streaming. Like, that most of it's going to be streaming. If you have a bad internet connection, it's not going to be a good service.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about because, like, the Wi-Fi in the Switch is not good.
Well, I agree. I see.
It's like, eh.
So whenever I do an internet connection, like, speed test, I get, like, over 30 megabytes per second.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I hear, like, really most games only take, like, 12 megabytes per second to play well online. Right?
Yeah. Streaming is completely different. It's way more to stream an entire game.
Okay. Do you know how much? Do you have any numbers on that?
I don't, but it has to be more than that.
Let's do another fact check.
There's no, because all you do when you play an online game is it sends the position and what your inputs are and like what happened. Like this is streaming the entirety of a game, like graphics and everything.
They just want.
You don't have to do that when you play games
it's getting
online.
confused. It's like, oh, what do you need to do to stream on Twitch?
Look up project stream requirements.
Okay.
Oh, Google's thing.
Yeah, that would give us a good benchmark.
They had a beta recently, right? So there should be some people out there who know.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying this is like a thing that's happening right now. So
Project Stream specs for a 1080p 30 FPS game experience at high settings in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Ubisoft recommends system with following specs: OS, Windows 7 SP1, Windows processor. Why do you even need a? I want internet speeds. Maybe if I Control F MB. Oh, I don't care about stupid spam ads. Google requires a streaming rate of 15 Mbps, latency below 40 ms, and a data loss below 5%. With these requirements met, you'll be ready to dive into a game. So those are the requirements.
Those are like the minimums.
Right. So how much does it need for it to be like completely good?
I don't. It's probably usually like at least 2-3 times more than the minimum.
Well, if that's the requirement, then it's at least playable at that level. So the Switch Wi-Fi can get a little bit more than double that. But they need to release like a legitimate Ethernet connection. Like the LAN adapter is a bottleneck. Yeah. It doesn't get that much faster. It only works if you have shitty Wi-Fi. If you have good Wi-Fi, it doesn't help you out at all. So they need to do something about that. I think they need to release that dock that offers upscaling with the resolution, put an Ethernet connection in there so you could have 400 megabytes per second speed or something like I do with my PS4. Lag is never an issue unless the game itself is dumb. So that's what it needs to be. It's
right.
So I'm right there with you. I am concerned about how well it's going to run.
Can we get a Switch Pro?
Switch Pro might be the option.
Switch Pro with a better dock, dude. This is why I'm saying. This is why I made that video. Switch Pro, better idea than a Switch Mini. We need that Switch Pro, man. Nobody needs a Switch Mini.
I agree.
It's a trash idea.
I want a 4K dock.
Yeah.
I don't want to replace my Switch. I'm happy with my Switch. I just want the games.
I want to replace both my dock and my Switch, and I don't care how much money it costs.
I need to replace my Joy-Cons.
Graphics for.
It's dying on me. It's so hard for me to play Tetris with my Joy-Cons because my right analog stick has that drifting issue. So whenever I try to target attackers or badges or anything, it's just like it doesn't aim at anything. So I'm just like, shit, this is a huge handicap. How am I gonna win when I can't even target people or defend myself? So I just have to be really good at Tetris. It helps a little, but I haven't won a Tetris game yet on Tetris 99.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah. If I'm taking it seriously, I play on my Pro Controller. But even then, I got one of the early Pro Controllers. You know what that means? The D-pad sucks.
I got the new and improved. It looks exactly the same, but it has a better D-pad.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I have the Smash one over here.
Oh my god, so
nice.
Beautiful. Oh, I tried to get that, but it was so hard.
Yeah, I couldn't afford it at the time.
I just got the special GameCube Power A controllers instead of the that sexy Smash Pro Controller.
I got this on sale for $50, so.
I think what I'm gonna end up doing, I'm gonna probably end up making a video of me like modifying my Joy-Cons, or trying to fix my Joy-Cons, and definitely modifying the D-pad on my Pro Controller, because that thing needs to be improved. I feel like I mean, it launched. I paid $70 for that thing. It should have a properly functioning D-pad. Whatever. Let's oof. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat, and we'll move on from there. Let me see. Samus, I want Rare Replay on Switch so badly. Right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll buy it again if it's on Switch.
I'll buy it.
Vilbeer's saying, if I could play Halo 2 on my Switch, I will die of joy.
Oh my god, Halo 2 on the go.
Sky high, my dude.
I don't believe I'd buy that game again.
It's going to turn Halo DS into a reality.
Yeah.
There you go.
Computer robots. Does this mean Banjo and Kazooie or Minecraft for Smash? We're going to get into that next topic.
I know what it means.
It means everything and more. Darcy, I have arrived. Welcome, sir. How you doing, man? Scissor. Oh, no, he's adding. I'm not going to. It's your personal conversation. mastermind. What if they announced Gen 8 by the movie? It could be possible. Nintendo did with Mario 3 and Wizard. Ooh, that would be cool. That would be cool. I want my Gen 8 reveal like ASAP though.
I've never seen the movie.
Just my chance. So will there be crossplay with Nintendo and Microsoft? There already is. You can you can play a Fortnite and Minecraft between Switches and Xboxes.
And you can play Rocket League too.
Rocket League as well. Yeah.
I think Paladins is also crossplay.
Yeah,
that as well. Yeah. And Paladins and Fortnite are free to play. So if you haven't tried it out, they're free. Download them on the eShop. They're pretty good. Let me see. I got an app. Computer Robots. Love your reaction to Link's Awakening. It was hilarious. Thank you, man. Yeah, I didn't plan on streaming that much, but I did not expect to see Zelda anything at the Direct. When I saw that, I mean, that's free. Free.
My mind was so blown that even though I knew there were Goombas, I was like, why are there Goombas? I was surprised. I just forgot everything about everything when I saw that trailer. It's just too hype.
For me, it's like I remember too much where all I saw was the boat and I already knew what game it was.
Oh, dude, I saw the boat and I was like, yep, I called it. Like, as soon as I saw Link, I was like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I was thinking. I just remember I saw the ears and the green and... Oh my god. It was so crazy. I will say, though, when they showed the gameplay, like, you literally see my reaction. I was like this, and then it went like this. No, actually, I was like, I had like a close to straight face, and then I did like I had a quick sneer. Like, that was my initial reaction to it. Because one, I didn't play Link's Awakening, right? I didn't understand the reasoning for that. But after I saw it after 3 seconds, I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm okay with this. This is cool, right? But I understand that because it's like a dreamlike environment, right? That's why it's like that. Like, the setting of the game world is supposed to be different from the normal world of Link. It's very toy-like. Like, we've never really seen an art style like this before. Like, people like kind of described it as like claymation a little bit, and I do like the style overall. It is really unique, but it did take me a moment to get used to it. Like, that's right. my honest, reaction and opinion on it. I think it's cool.
Like seeing Wind Waker for the first time.
Yeah, if you're expecting like, Ocarina of Time like times 20, no, it's something else, and it looks great now. But yeah, it threw people off for sure. But Shifty, I know you played it. You just said yourself. So as someone who was a fan of the previous game, who played through it, how was your reaction to the game, of course, but like the graphical style?
Yeah, like my reaction is actually on my channel. So if you guys want, you could look at it at some other time.
The link to his channel is in the description below. Check it out.
Hey, self-plug. No, but basically, I was just like screaming. Maybe not screaming. I guess maybe screaming or yelling, however you want to put it. But I was basically just yelling at how cute it was. So I wasn't even that like, I wasn't even that focused on like, oh, this is a new art style. Oh, this looks so different. I was like, oh, it's so cute. I love this.
Okay. Cool.
I was just totally on board of like just the cutesy look of it, I guess.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's so for you. Were you expecting something like this?
Like Zelda related?
Sure. I just meant the art style, but yeah, were you expecting Zelda?
Well, I guess both. No, to put it simply.
So like, you heard about the King Zell stuff beforehand, though, right?
Heard about what?
The King Zell stuff about how we were hearing that there was going to be a 2D Zelda, Pikmin 3, Metroid Prime Trilogy at some point this year.
Yeah, that I did hear about. Yeah.
So my question is, were you expecting a 2D Zelda at some point in the year, or just not at all?
Well, I mean, before the Direct started, I just didn't really take that whole thing seriously, and then I believe that same post said Mario Maker 2 in the Direct.
It did.
So when the Direct started with Mario Maker 2, then I suddenly was like, oh, where's Metroid Prime Trilogy? Where's Pikmin? Where's, all this other stuff?
And I think it's important to note that King Zell did not specify which ones would be at the Direct. He did say he thought Prime Trilogy would be at the Direct, though. Everything else he said would just be at some point this year. And since you're here, I'll just ask you, how much do you want Metroid Prime Trilogy?
I want it pretty badly, I guess you could say.
And how much water was in your room when Metroid Prime 4 was delayed from your tears? I needed a boat to get out.
Honestly, there was like next to none, and it wasn't even because like, oh, I don't want Metroid Prime trilogy 4. It was more because all we ever saw was a logo and like a small tiny trailer, so I kind of already expected to wait a really long time. Right. So by then, kind of delaying a game that I was never expecting to see soon anyways, kind of just felt like the same thing to me.
Right. No, I was the opposite. I was thinking, it's been almost 2 years. It's time. This is it. Right? Like, I didn't think that they started development when they announced it. And we may never really know how it was going to pan out. But, you know, it just didn't happen. I was upset about it. But do you, just to kind of backtrack, do you think Prime Trilogy is going to come out this year, or do you think that's just been delayed because of Prime 4, or maybe it's just not true at all because it's a rumor?
I don't know. I feel this year's more plausible because I feel there's just so many people behind the scenes saying that it's going to happen. Then it keeps saying this year. I think the VGAs was like one instance where it was supposed to show up. Right. So
Reggie was even wearing a Ridley shirt. Like, I felt like that was a hardcore tease, you know? Like, of all the Smash characters... Okay, well, there's a few new Smash characters. So if it had to be a new Smash character, it's like, what, like 9 or something like that. So I guess 1 in 9 or something. Just of all the... You know what I mean? Like, all the Smash characters to have on your shirt, when everyone's talking about Metroid being at the Game Awards, I felt like that was a little uncanny. Like, was it really just a coincidence? We may never know.
Yeah.
Unless now that Reggie retires, we get like an interview where he's just like not being held back. It's like, oh yeah.
Technically, he's still under NDA.
Yeah.
For life?
Yeah.
Because they has a pension or something. Are they going to give him money? Oh, it's all a legal aspect. Yeah, I understand. But it would still be so cool if like someday we get like Reggie Unfiltered, right? And it's just like, yeah, Mother 3 is real. Yeah, I worked at Area 64, not Area 51. Like, you know, it'd be cool to see for sure. At this point for Metroid Prime Trilogy, I'm just, as much as I want it, I've been let down too many times to just, I've been let down so much. Just hard, been battered with a spiked bat. Like, I'm just gonna wait, right? I got my Link's Awakening, I got my Gen 8. I'll be okay. So, whenever it happens, I'll be happy, but I'm not even thinking about it anymore. When it happens, it happens.
Yeah, my philosophy on that kind of thing is just, I just kind of doubt everything unless I hear something different that convinces me otherwise.
Right.
For sure. Actually, while we're still in technically the Xbox topic, technically. What do you think about the Scalebound stuff?
Scalebound, it's weird because I own every console, so Scalebound was one of those games I was like, I really wanted on my Xbox because I love Platinum.
Yeah, it was the one game I was like, oh, I really want Xbox One. Right? Like, I was already kind of like into some of the rare games, like Killer Instinct. I thought it was really cool, so I was like, oh, like, if Scalebound came out, I might have decided to get an Xbox One instead of a PS4.
It was one of those games where I was like, oh, I might actually wipe the dust off my Xbox One and decide to take it into my room for once. Play it, huh?
Yeah, so for me...
And then, well, too bad.
Yeah, the way I look at Scalebound, it's like, I don't know if you guys looked into some of the rumors like that was circulated around Scalebound when it was supposed to be an Xbox One game. But apparently they said that there was a lot of issue trying to get the game to run properly on the base hardware.
Yeah, the footage they showed of it running on there did not look good. It ran very badly.
Yeah, and there was like all this talk about how apparently they were trying to make it like a Xbox One X exclusive game, but they didn't want to do that. And it was like this whole weird thing behind the scenes. And obviously we don't know if that's true to any extent, but it does make me wonder, how would Scalebound, they would have to cut back a lot on Scalebound to get it on Switch, I feel, because of those reasons.
I think I would want them, sure, take some of the design concepts, use some of the assets to streamline development a little bit, but I think I'd basically want them to develop it ground up. I wouldn't want it to be scaled back. If you scale down Scalebound, I just think it's a formula for disaster for Switch. Like, look at how Doom runs. Look at how Wolfenstein 2 runs. They run. Okay, they're playable. They're fun. But let's be real. They're blurry. They are.
Yeah, and they don't hold to their 30 FPS target all the time.
Right, and I mean, Doom's definitely gotten good with updates and stuff, and I think their panic button's gotten better at making games run better with the Switch, and I'm sure a couple more years from now it'll be even better. But the fact remains that shouldn't... It's okay, but I mean, it would be nice if it was better. Like, Mario Odyssey looks gorgeous. Like, the best looking games on Switch are going to be the games that are developed grounded for the system. That's always been the case for any system. If they scale it back, if Scalebound happens, it just won't look great if they just port down whatever was already running poorly on Xbox One. They would need to build it from the ground up, and it would have to be different. It would basically be a different game. Yeah,
I agree. I feel like it's not going to be possible to just take what was already there and scale it all the way back to what the Switch is. And, the way I look at it, I see Doom and Wolfenstein 2 as kind of like the bare minimum of how to get a game running on Switch and making it playable. Anything lower than that, I feel, is just too much of a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And let's be real here. Scalebound is definitely a game that would require a lot more than Doom or Wolfenstein did.
Right. I mean, it was too powerful for the Xbox One. Exactly. Right. I think... What was I going to say?
You know what could be interesting, actually?
Yeah, go on.
What if they make Scalebound on Switch, but it's one of those exclusive streamed Game Pass games?
Be interesting.
Would it be only for Switch?
No, I mean, like, maybe they could have Scalebound on Game Pass, but it's one of those options that are streamed. Or maybe if you have a One X, it could just be installed, or something along those lines.
I think I'm okay with that. In fact, I speculated, and it's just spitballing. There's no real supporting evidence for it, but because it goes against the rumor technically, because the rumor says it'll be coming exclusively for Switch. But I watched was it Liam Robinson's video, because he supposedly has some inside sources. He's friends with people at Platinum Games, and he doesn't know. He didn't get any information that denies it. He just, from his perspective, it seems highly unlikely that they're actually doing it for Scalebound, based off how much they cared about Scalebound, and some people left, and it just seems kind of distasteful. And then there's a whole element of Xbox fans being upset about it. Some people are... I've heard some people on Twitter say, they will sell their Xbox One if they hear that Scalebound's coming to the Switch, which to me doesn't make sense, because I think it's better for a game to exist than to not exist at all, right? But I understand that some people would feel slighted, and I get it. If, for example... I had a Wii U. Let's think back to the Wii U, because the Wii U just didn't have in my opinion, Nintendo didn't satisfy me from first-party games. It was a good system. I enjoyed it, but I'm just being real with you. What I enjoyed most about my Wii U was the Virtual Console. I got to play a whole bunch of previous Nintendo games on it. I was missing those big single-player Nintendo games. That wasn't really too much of a thing for the Wii U era. The biggest single-player game beside Breath of the Wild, which I got for Switch anyway, was Xenoblade X. That was it. So I felt like the Wii U left something to be desired for me as a Nintendo fan. So if the one game that was that game, let's say Xenoblade X, was canceled, I would have been heartbroken. And then if I heard that it was then coming out for Xbox One, I mean, I'm a diehard Nintendo fan. I would never sell my system out of spite, but that would have really upset me. So, just kind of me trying to think of it from a different perspective. I get that, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess the closest thing that reminds me of this is kind of the Bayonetta 2 situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of similar, because, Bayonetta used to be on the other systems, and then the sequel ends up being only on Nintendo. Yeah. So it's kind of similar to that, except it's just the game was canceled, and then they're bringing it back.
Right. And I mean, in both situations, Bayonetta 2 wasn't going to happen unless it came from Nintendo. That was just the reality of the situation. And it may also be the case, if the rumor's true, that Scalebound... The only way it's going to happen is because Nintendo's going to play a part in bringing it back. But I don't know if I said it, but my speculation was that it would be... Scalebound could be some sort of collaborative effort between Platinum Games, Xbox, and Nintendo.
Yeah, they could use that game as the catalyst of... I guess, the catalyst of just Game Pass and Xbox and Nintendo merging together, and Scalebound is that big game that, you know...
and let's just put this out there, right? Two things. One, to give it any supporting evidence. I wouldn't even call it supporting evidence, but just like a convenient little thing. The trademark for Scalebound, which Microsoft owns, is no longer visible. Like it doesn't seem that they have it anymore, and that's something that Microsoft would have had to have consciously dropped, right? So if this project is happening, it's something that Microsoft enabled, right? So I would say that if it's the case, it would kind of go more hand in hand with the relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft. It would support that more. And this is me, more extra speculation, going the extra mile here. But if it is true, and again, this is spitballing here, it's not even part of any rumors, that Nintendo and Microsoft and Platinum Games are working together to bring back Scalebound. And I like your idea of it being available through streaming on Game Pass. Then they don't have to worry about the systems being able to run it because it'll just be streamed. If that happens, though, let's just, all of these ifs, right? There's a lot of ifs. It's highly unlikely, but if all these ifs occur, then who's to say that it's not possible that they could also work together and get Banjo 3 to happen, right? Because let's be frank, Banjo 3 would sell way more on a Nintendo system than a Microsoft system. And if Microsoft can get a piece of that pie, why wouldn't they want to do it? How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I could kind of see it. I think that it might not be the game people wanted, though, if they did end up doing that. Because the rare that it's at Microsoft, a lot of people tend to say that, it's Microsoft that holds back Rare. But realistically, if you really look at the company, none of the people who helped with Banjo-Kazooie are there anymore. They left after Microsoft, acquired Rare, and another big group of them left for Playtonic.
Yeah. So
you could probably get them to work together to make Banjo 3, but it probably won't be the game you want it to be.
It would have to be... I think it would have to be like a 4-way effort or something. Like, for example, I've talked about how Banjo-Kazooie feels almost more like a prequel to Mario Odyssey than Mario 64 does. Because I think there's a lot of elements of Banjo-Kazooie that Mario Odyssey kind of... I'm not saying Mario Odyssey took it from Banjo-Kazooie, but it does kind of feel like gameplay-wise there's a lot of similarities. And I feel like if they were to use the Mario Odyssey engine, they could make a perfect follow-up to Banjo 3. So, to Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, I mean. So, just, again, this is all spitballing. Probably will never happen, right? This is, like, hardcore speculation here. But, like, if Nintendo were to be like, hey, we think this should happen, and Microsoft, oh, we would like this to happen. Like, if they both put their money and they both publish, Nintendo gets in some people, and then Rare is like, oh, these are how the design should work. Like, they all sort of oversee it, but they get some quality staff in there. Like, it's more than just Rare. Then I could see it becoming a good game. But I agree with you. Rare itself now is, they can't make a good follow-up. It would be a miracle if it was solid. It wouldn't be great. That's what I think. If the Rare as it is now were to do it, that's maybe why they haven't done it yet, because Rare isn't what they were, and they know that there's an expectation for a Banjo 3, and because they can't measure up to it, and they know it, they haven't done it. That makes sense to me, at least.
And keep in mind that Rare did technically come out with a Banjo-Kazooie game on the 360, but that's not the one people wanted either.
I'm gonna get Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts too, my friends. That's what they wanted. That's what the fans want.
I heard, and I've seen a couple of videos on this. It's been a while though, that initially, like, for news is coming out of that game, it seemed more like a legitimate Banjo-Kazooie follow-up than what it became. And it's like all of a sudden, like, they were planning out like an actual Banjo-Kazooie game with the actual worlds and stuff, and they're like, nope, let's just throw in cars like halfway through development. That's how it seemed to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because aesthetically speaking, it looks great. I think it's a beautiful looking game for the 360. I think it's just, the design choices of cars, just it's not what people want.
Yeah, I remember playing that game and just thinking like, oh, this doesn't look too bad. And then the cars start coming in. I was like, I don't want to spend hours making cars and doing all these things. I just want to play a Banjo-Kazooie game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of going a slight different direction that I've realized as we're thinking about, there's a lot of games that were at one point planned for Nintendo that happened on Xbox, or maybe vice versa. So, for example, there was this Rare game there was like Cameo or something. You know what I'm talking about? I might be getting
Yeah.
That was originally going to be a GameCube game. If you look it up, if you look at Cameo GameCube, you'll see like old pictures of Cameo basically running on the GameCube. And then that was when Rare was bought up by Microsoft. Then that product moved over, and years later came out on the 360. And actually, with Scalebound, initially it was planned for the Wii, the Nintendo Wii. Didn't happen, and then it started to materialize for the Xbox One years later. And now, of course, we're hearing the rumors that Scalebound might be resurrected for the Switch. So there's been a history of like games from Nintendo going to Microsoft or vice versa. I think obviously the Platinum Games thing is different than Rare, but a big part of that's because Rare came from Nintendo and then went to Microsoft. So it's just kind of an interesting thing how there's always been kind of this connection between Nintendo and Microsoft, right? And of course, because Microsoft has the Rare IP, whenever those games do kind of come up, a lot of Nintendo fans are like, oh, I remember that. Well, that's kind of cool, right? Like for me, like I loved Killer Instinct. So when Killer Instinct came out for Xbox One, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really want to play this. Like I remember I went with my cousin to pick up an Xbox One for him, not for me. And I was like, yo, you should get Killer Instinct. He's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, no, man, this is a great fighting. You should give it a try. So, I
think Killer Instinct was probably one of my first games on the system too.
How do you feel about it?
I was like totally into that game. I loved it. I think it was for a good month or so, probably my most played Xbox game.
Okay. Cool.
So, and fun fact.
Go on.
Sorry, but
no.
Fun fact. I was just gonna say that if the Game Pass thing does end up going to Switch, Cameo would end up back on a Nintendo system.
That'd be amazing. I want to play that game because I played the demo. Remember when 360 came out? There was demo stations. I played it on the demo station, but never owned the game. I never got a 360. That would be really cool to have. I would give that a try. I remember it being considered a solid game too. Like it had decent reviews. It wasn't like a bad game. So I'd probably be a good play.
Yeah,
and having Killer Instinct might also be nice. That'd be great.
I just want the Master Chief Collection on Switch.
I would love to play through Conker's Bad Fur Day. Oh, that'd be great. It'd be so good. So good. I would love all of it. Yeah, and Master Chief, dude. Yeah, Halo, that's part of the rumor. Dude, if that happens.
Halo 2 is still my most played Xbox One game.
Wow. So, let's move on a little bit, though. Right? Unless there's anything else. We're kind of transitioning into DLC talk, basically. But let me see what a couple of you guys are saying in the chat, and then we'll move on. Let me see. Justin Martinez is saying, do you think Nintendo will release a new IP this year or next year? Well, I basically consider Astral Chain a new IP for Nintendo. Yeah, Nintendo's publishing it. Just so like that.
Yeah.
Nintendo publishing Astral Chain. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty darn sure Nintendo's publishing Astral Chain.
I'm going to take a guess and say either he doesn't know about Astral Chain, and that's fine because Astral Chain looks awesome. You should check it out if you haven't. But if not, then maybe he's talking about a Nintendo developed game.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, I consider Bayonetta a Nintendo game, by the way. So when Astral Chain's like another one of those to me. But yeah, like an in-house Nintendo team, or like developed by a Nintendo team. I don't think so.
I don't think there's a lot here. It's just so. The end of the year is too packed.
Right. I think if we get any announcements for anything, it's things that are basically remakes or ports at this point. Maybe there's one more game, but I mean, think about it. We're not even getting anything in April or May, and starting through June, we're getting Mario Maker 2, Daemon X Machina, another game that's being published by Nintendo, by the way. That's technically another maybe new IP. It might be one and done. We'll see. But there's that. Fire Emblem, Luigi's Mansion 3, Animal Crossing, Pokemon Generation 8, Astral Chain. That's 7 games, 6 months. And there's other stuff. There's Town. I'm sure I'm missing a couple other little things as well. And we're only in February. They're probably going to announce a couple more things. So
unless they pull Smash Brothers and announce the game, and then just within the same year, just say it's coming out.
But when? Like some people think Bayonetta 3 can still happen this year, but I no longer think that's possible.
When would it come out?
When exactly? I don't know. Because Astral Chain is coming out at the end of August. I just don't see, because then all you have is September's the 9th month, right? It's coming. Yeah, so there's September. I don't see it. Especially like Animal Crossing is a major game. That's a 10 million plus seller. Pokemon Gen 8, tell you million plus seller. Like those two, I feel like they may put them back-to-back months. Technically, Let's Go and Smash are both 10 million plus sellers. They came out within 3 weeks of each other, so they may do that. I don't see Bayonetta 3 even coming out this year, and I would be weird. I'll tell you this. If there isn't a new Nintendo IP, it would be like kind of something like Sushi Striker, like an eShop game, basically. Nothing major.
You know, I could see that. I could see that. Because they do a lot of random eShop games. Sometimes you don't even notice that they're from Nintendo.
Right, like some people probably don't even understand that Tetris 99 is a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Tetris has been everywhere, right? Like it's been published by different companies. Like it's confusing, but this time Nintendo's publishing this version of Tetris. Yeah, so we'll see, but Astral Chain is probably the new IP. You should definitely take that game seriously. I'm pretty excited about it.
Check my video out, guys.
Yeah. So, Simon's saying the design choices for Banjo-Kazooie were a bad idea. What?
For nuts and bolts.
For nuts and bolts. Okay. Clarification there. There you go. Like, I was so confused. I was like, what? What are you saying?
What is this? Prayer.
Mark Jacobs is saying I actually like Nuts and Bolts. Well, from what I hear, Nuts and Bolts isn't actually a bad game. It's just not what people want.
It's just not a Banjo-Kazooie game.
Right.
Yeah, like when I said that it won't be the game people want, it's because it could be a good game. It's just not the one that Banjo-Kazooie fans are looking for.
Exactly. That's true. What was the Sea of Thieves thing? That got a bit of publicity, but when it came out, it didn't get raving reviews.
It needed to wait a year to come out.
Has it gotten better from what you guys have heard?
I've heard that they've added a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, I actually play it from time to time with a friend of mine.
Okay. How do you feel about
it? I could see the faults with it because the main issue was that there wasn't just a lot of things to do, and what you could do was basically the same things over and over. But they have added a lot of new stuff since then, so I think it's getting better, but I don't think it's even still to the place it should have been.
It sounds almost like that space game.
No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky. The No Man's Sky next update. That, like, the game didn't become good until that update, right? And even then, technically, that update was still not what initially was promised, right? Like, that was...
Yeah. I think the difference is that Sea of Thieves just was a mediocre game that didn't promise that much, but No Man's Sky promised, like, the world and came out with something that I think was even worse than what Sea of Thieves was.
Right. It is a different situation.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Sea of Thieves, though, is, from what I remember, at least, which is I'm not a big Xbox guy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Sea of Thieves was, like, one of the only, like, Microsoft published games coming out around the time, so a lot of Xbox fans were like, finally, we're getting something, and then it wasn't really that amazing.
Yeah. Like, I think it was just an okay game at best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, anytime a Microsoft published game comes out, it's the only one.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Anytime something comes out, we're like, yes, something.
And
it's not Halo or Forza.
And 90% of the time, it's an okay game at best, unless it's Forza.
Yeah. Forza's good though.
At least they get Forza right.
Yeah, Forza's still up there doing great.
This is just my impression, but I feel like Halo's gone stale.
4 and 5 they were okay.
I don't think they review poorly, from what I've heard. They're just the hype for them just doesn't seem to be there anymore.
I think
Halo
good.
I was just gonna say Halo Infinite looks like it's gonna be awesome. I'm really hopeful for that one. They haven't shown us a bunch, but from what they showed us, really harkened back to the good old days.
It's totally gonna be like a dual release, right? With an Xbox, you think?
Probably, yeah. And I think with Halo, it's just the original trilogy was some of the best like shooters of the time. Mm-hmm. It was like, for a lot of people, they were masterpieces. But then you move on to Halo 4 and 5, which are made by 343, not by Bungie.
Yeah.
So it's different people. And while they're not bad games, they're just nowhere near to the quality of the old games.
One of the things that sort of hurt my feelings was that when Halo 4 came out, there were certain designs that reminded me of Metroid Prime. Like, a lot of the enemies reminded me of Space Pirates, and as it turned out, there were a few developers that were part of Retro Studios that moved over to 343 Industries. Mm-hmm. And that's why there was a very Metroid Prime-esque feel to some of the enemies in Halo 4. Hurt my feelings.
Yeah, you can say that.
Because I wanted Prime. I didn't. So, actually, when's Halo? When's the Halo game expected to come out? Is it expected next year?
Infinite? I don't know. They never announced a release date.
Yeah, they just kind of announced the game and said, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, they didn't even show gameplay. They showed an in-engine demo, so they showed like graphics and the world, I guess. But that could even be like not even gameplay. It kind of reminded me of like Halo 1, like that, because you're on the Halo, so it might have just been the engine, but they remade the original first Halo level once you crash into the Halo, and they were just like for fun. But I hope that we're actually going back to a Halo, and they're just like rebooting everything, because that's what I want. Because they need to learn what Halo originally was.
Interesting. Well, I'm not gonna call myself a Halo fan, although I did play Halo 1 and 2 a fair bit back in the day. But yeah,
Halo 2 is like my favorite shooter ever. 2 and 3 are amazing.
We need to move on though, because we're an hour and a half in, and we still have 2 topics left. And these two, and the last one's the main one. So,
oh god,
yeah. And the one before that, which we're getting to right now, is Smash DLC talk, and I feel like this one's gonna be a short one because there hasn't been too much on it, but there's been a little bit. So let's just jump into it. Smash DLC. What am I even getting at? Talk about all the time. Well, 2 things. One, it seems like Erdrick is all but confirmed from a lot of people. It's still technically a rumor. But recently, we've heard that, Mementos is coming. Like, we've pretty much it's been in the data mine for Joker, right? And actually, we've also got a confirmation that Jack was a codename for Joker. And basically, that seems to line up with what was said with a forum post about Joker coming with the Memento stage, which also included that Erdrick would be coming as well from Dragon Quest. So, that data mine suggests that Erdrick is probably the next DLC character. Where do you guys stand on that?
Yeah, I was already pretty convinced, especially with that Twitter post about the shield and the Brave thing.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I guess this is just even more reason for me to believe it, and I'm pretty confident in that it will be Erdrick as the second DLC fighter.
Okay, what do you think, Shifty?
I'm very on and off on it, because on one hand, yeah, there's a lot of things, but at the same time, I don't know if you guys remember, but back when the Grinch League was going on, I kind of knew it was fake from behind the scenes.
Right.
So I'm kind of like in this position of, I mean, it could be real, but there's also been a lot of very convincing things beforehand that, said otherwise,
Right. That's important to bring up, because you never really know. We're also hearing now that Star Fox Grand Prix might not be real. Apparently, that may have been a hoax to fool and, find out who's leaking information, right? That happens. A lot of times, leaks are made by the companies themselves to find the leakers. So even when something seems like it's coming from the best insiders, it's not that they aren't real insiders. It's that the companies are putting out false information intentionally so they can find those leakers. So that could be the case. So, maybe. Right. But I'm still inclined to think that Erdrick is legitimate, because we've gotten what I believe to be like public teases for it. And I mean, like, Dragon Quest 11 got a big segment at the Nintendo Direct, right? That seemed a little weird. And there was the Instagram post with the shield and the whole Brave thing. I think, and then of course there is the data mine that had Brave in there, and it also lines up with the forum posts and insiders and stuff. So I think it makes sense for it to be Erdrick. I think it's fairly likely. And when I say fairly likely, I would say at least a coin flips chance.
Okay. I think that my mindset is more of whether or not the people putting the info out there actually know something, or if it's something that maybe Nintendo is putting out just to, fool people, or maybe it's, something like that. Because I do think the character as a whole is not unlikely to be in Smash. Dragon Quest has a history with Nintendo. It's not totally alien to have a Dragon Quest. It's not even
like a largely requested character either, right? So this isn't like some big fandom push to make it a reality, right? This is just kind of something unexpected, like Joker.
Yeah, I would say Joker is more...
Joker is a bigger deal.
Yeah, because Joker like unless you find like the loosest possible connection, maybe Persona Q2 coming out in a bit could be your evidence as to why he would be in. But before that, there isn't really much to go off of.
I mean, it's blatantly a Persona 5 crossover.
Right.
Like, they talk about Persona 5 in the trailer, right? It isn't like, oh, Persona representative.
Persona 5.
Right. They talk about it as a Persona 5 representative, not as a Persona representative. So, I'm right there with you. So, and on that one, no one saw coming. Like, there was no leakers talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the leaker killer.
Yeah, and on my end, because I don't,
you got Piranha Plant, which is crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. No one believed you. Like, you're like, oh no, that sounds weird, but you were right.
Yeah,
yeah.
And even on my end, as someone who has sources and leaked stuff before, I didn't even hear about Joker. The only thing I was told about was, oh, it's gonna be a third-party character, and that's it. That's all I heard, which is not enough for me to say something.
No. So let me ask you this from your perspective, and obviously, I know that I'm not trying to press you to say anything you shouldn't, but your opinion: do you think all of the DLC characters for this current Challenger Pass, because I think it's possible we might get another in the future, maybe? Do you think the next 4 characters could all be third-party characters?
From what I know, it is very likely.
Very likely.
But I can't say for a fact, because the way I try to talk about my leaks are typically like, I don't say anything until I know for a fact there's a lot of backing behind it. So if I hear just one of my sources say something, I don't say it yet. So it seems like that could be the case, but I don't want to, say for a fact that it's happening, because I don't know that.
It's possible. Let's just say, just an idea. Okay, we get Erdrick, right? Then at E3 we get a Banjo-Kazooie announcement, and then the 4th DLC character is Doom Guy, and then the final one is actually Rex and Pyra, because Nintendo's like, okay, we gave like 4 really big third-party characters that are mind-blowing. Now let's give one Nintendo character, because Nintendo's like, hey, we know that you guys want the Rex and Pyra because they're pretty popular. I mean, I think most people would agree that Rex and Pyra, in terms of Nintendo-owned characters, is probably the most asked for right now, right? Are we on the same page with that, or no? Which goes against with what I'm even talking about right now, but...
I mean, maybe. I mean, considering that Sakurai felt like he needed to give people who wanted Rex in the game as a consolation prize, I guess that's kind of telling to that. Right.
But it doesn't mean that Rex will overcome. It's almost like... It's like an apology. It's like, hey, sorry, it's too late for Rex and Pyra. Maybe next time. Whatever that means. I hope that means next DLC season instead of next game. Because at that point, if we have to wait until another game, I'm not even sure Rex and Pyra will make it, because Rex and Pyra might be a one-and-done character with Xenoblade 2, Maybe Xenoblade 3 kind of brings in both Shulk and Rex somehow, which I would love, by the way. But we may never see them again. So if they don't get into Smash within the next couple of years because of DLC, they will not be immortalized, and I don't think they'll make it into the next game.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because by then we might have Xenoblade 3, and they might just use that character.
We might have Xenoblade 4. It might be 10 years before the next Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long time. I mean, with how much Smash is selling and how much the Switch is selling, I feel like there's not really a point in making a new Smash game for a while. Unless, because what would they add? I guess they could make an even better graphics engine. It's like, okay, cool. But it's going to be a while. They need to wait for more games and, a long time when they have a bunch of different cool characters from all their new IPs and new entries in series, and they can actually change things that's worthwhile for a new game. And it's just no point. It's like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's selling so well. I don't think that they're gonna. There's a reason they haven't come up with a Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is an evergreen title. They don't need another Mario Kart 9 on the Switch. I personally prefer they focus on making a Wave Race or an F-Zero instead.
It'd be nice to have an F-Zero.
Oh my god, it would be nice. It'd be the best thing ever. like, of the things I want the most that are from Nintendo, right, that aren't really expected. Metroid Prime 4 wasn't expected at the time, right? So there's that. That was one of them. So the fact that it's even happening makes me happy. The fact that it was restarted development is concerning, but whatever. Two other things. Earthbound 64 redone, or Mother 3 redone. That's what I want. That's like my big wish. That's also really unlikely. More unlikely than Metroid Prime 4, obviously. And then the other one is F-Zero. Please give me F-Zero. Like, I really want it. It's such a good game. It's like the best racing series ever, man. Oh. Who here is an F-Zero GX fan? Who here has built-in calluses from their F-Zero GX days of snaking? I do. Can you tell? That is not a pretty thumb. That is from F-Zero. That is from F-Zero, man. I broke control. I went through Controls of F-Zero. Like, it was such an intense racing game. It was like one of the hardest racing games ever. But it was also so amazing because you had the music, which is bombastic and epic. But then you also had those moments where you'll go super, super fast. Like, if you play a racing game and you think it's fast, no, it's slow as hell. Okay, there's no futuristic racer that even comes close to F-Zero. That's not hyperbole. Okay, play F-Zero GX, you'll know. And just press Y like crazy with max. You'll see. But anyway, like, there are these moments in F-Zero where you boost like crazy and then you go off a ramp and then you're soaring, and then the music's just like booming, and it's just this super elating moment. Like, it's one of my favorite moments about F-Zero. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like, I remember there being actual strategies in F-Zero where you would purposely blow up your car at the final lap just so you can get it through the finish line faster.
Explosion faster. Yeah. And the boosting mechanic was something you could kind of overdo more in the N64 version. But just like when you know you're losing, but you're going so fast, like you can barely tell what's going on, but you're just boosting like crazy right at the end. And then, like, literally, like, a fraction of a second, you go past second into first. And you see the two, but once you pass the finish line, you're like, oh, well, what happened? And you see the number, and it's 1. You're like, oh my god, I did it. Like, that'd be crazy. One thing they actually could do is kind of implement the Mario Kart 8 replay mode for F-Zero. That'd be one way they could kind of, like, improve that series. Especially with how fast it is, it'd be really cool to get like that 60 FPS frame by frame like replay to see exactly what happened. You know, that's really cool. They could do.
They could definitely do that, and also just make an F-Zero game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would even be satisfied with F-Zero GX HD with online play.
Yeah. Actually, I feel it's been so long that they could just make the most expected F-Zero game and people would still kind of buy it.
Right. Like, we've heard Miyamoto saying, oh, there's just nothing new we can add to it, so that's why I haven't made a game. But, like, it's also not really playable now.
Like, just make an HD F-Zero with online play and people would be kind of excited to play that.
Right. I think I could sell 1 million.
You just need F-Zero with, like, really, like, just, I don't know, if you want to make a new F-Zero game, just make it really, really beautiful and have online play, and I feel like people would be fine.
F-Zero GX has aged really well, actually. It looks pretty good. If you were to run it, like, if you look at a Dolphin version of F-Zero, that stands up pretty well to modern standards. Like, if you were just basically do that, maybe update textures a little bit, that game would hold up really nicely. Really nicely. Yeah, I'm going off tangent here. Back to the Smash DLC talk. Actually, Captain Blood Falcon DLC for Smash. They're gonna announce F-Zero along with Blood Falcon as a DLC character this E3. No, that's not happening.
I mean, what I can say is that there's only and just for the sake of keeping things vague, I'm just not gonna say the specifics, but there was one leak that I looked at that to me had the most credibility, just because one of my sources heard the same character, and this leak was the only one that I know of that said that same character. And I'm not going to get into too much of that because I want to, confirm things. But as of now, that kind of seems to me personally the one with the most credibility.
Okay, but you're not telling us which one that was.
No, because I don't want to have you cyber sleuths get into it and find out what it is.
Right. So I'm on Team Banjo, especially now with all this Xbox on Switch talk. But I feel like that also, while it may increase the chances for Banjo, it also simultaneously increases the chances for Minecraft Steve. And it also technically opens the door for Master Chief, although I still think that's a very unlikely option.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna get. Hey, it's coming out E3, Halo Infinite, all's coming to the Switch. You got Master Chief and Smash. It's what's gonna happen.
So I remember a few months ago, one of the early data mines for Smash Brothers, that we saw Jet Force Gemini and Blast Core in the data mine. And I've been trying to. I remember seeing it at the time, but I've been trying to find a source for that lately, so I could talk about it in a video. It's hard to find that source, and I don't want to. I've said it, but it was reported by several people, like for example Papagenos and stuff. I've been trying to find that source though. It's hard to find that source. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
What was it exactly?
One of the early data mines for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There is Spirit Data, and they had Blast Core and Jet Force Gemini, which are Rare-owned games.
I feel like I vaguely remember hearing this, but I'm not sure as to. Like I don't remember much of it, I guess.
Right. So my perspective. I just want to find a source because I feel like that's like one of the most telling details. Right, but it's so hard to find that now. I need to find it because with that, it backs up the claim more that Rare has been in talks with Nintendo or Microsoft has, right? And if it's Rare and not just Microsoft, that's more suggestive of guess who? Banjo-Kazooie, not necessarily Minecraft Steve. But at this point, because of all the Microsoft hype, I'm starting to fall into the frame of mind that maybe Banjo and Minecraft Steve might be possible. Like both, because all the other third-party companies have 2 DLC characters, assuming that Erdrick comes from Square, right? At least 2, and I guess if you count Joker as Sega, right? So it wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think it's crazy to think we get 2 Microsoft DLC characters. What do you think about that?
I think it's likely we're going to see one of the 2. I don't think we're going to get both. Yeah, and I think it's.
Who do you think? Just your opinion. Just your opinion. This has nothing to do with what you've heard. Just what you think.
I think it's more likely for Minecraft Steve.
Okay.
Because I feel that I feel even if there were spirits of Rare characters in there, they're still owned by Microsoft. So regardless if it's just Rare spirits specifically, they're still gonna have to be in talks with Microsoft too.
Right. Right. So, I mean, it's possible that you get Minecraft Steve and then just throw in Rare Spirits just to throw some fans a bone, right?
Yeah, because realistically, Banjo-Kazooie also has nothing to do with, say, Jet Force Gemini. Even if they're both Rare, like, they're not the same properties.
Right.
So they could just throw Microsoft properties in there and then...
That's it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they're going to put Jet Force Gemini and Blast Core Spirits, they're also going to put Banjo Spirits, I feel like that's fair. Yeah. Man, I'd be upset if it wasn't Banjo.
Oh, yeah.
I prefer Banjo.
Yeah, but I understand the popularity for Minecraft Steve. And I also understand that whatever Sakurai does, whatever they put in, it's going to be a fun character. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For sure. A lot of people are going to be upset, though. A lot of people are going to be upset if we get a Minecraft Steve announcement and there's no Banjo. A lot of people are... It's going to be kind of like the
internet will explode.
Well, my personal prediction, be prepared for that. That's what I think. Because I feel that Microsoft is going to want to prefer having something as big as Minecraft than something that Nintendo fans like, from way back in the day.
Right.
So I feel like they might just prioritize Minecraft Steve over Banjo for that reason.
Oof. If it hurts, it's because it's true. Maybe, man. Maybe. Both.
No, I just hope Sakurai is like, no. Sakurai steps in. He's like, I won't. I'm doing Banjo for the fans.
Both.
For all the hardcore fans.
Both. Oh, please.
It's for most of the hardcore Nintendo fans want Banjo, but it's like the casuals who want Minecraft, Steve. And it's like, no, Smash is for the hardcore fans. The celebration of Nintendo and gaming's history is not just for whatever the hell casuals want to be thrown in there.
I mean, if you ask Sakurai, he'll say it's both the competitive and the casual.
Yeah. And Joker isn't really a Nintendo fan thing. Right?
No.
Like, it's cool, but it's not like, it's no King K. Rool, it's no Ridley. It's it's almost like a Sony fan thing, if anything, right? So
the absolute loosest connection is if you go, oh, his series is from a spin-off series of Shin Megami Tensei, and that has a history on Nintendo.
Right, but I feel like even then, it's like not even that big on Nintendo, you know? It's just not a Nintendo fan thing. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it. Actually, I'm going to play Persona 5 now because of this. So, you know, I'm into that. And I heard it's a really good game. Yeah, and I actually signed a show saying Microsoft keeps on teasing Steve. They have. So, I've gotten to the point where I think Steve has a really good chance. And I think Banjo still has a chance, but it's just like, the way I look at it, I think at least one Microsoft. I'd prefer Banjo, but I'm expecting Steve.
Those filthy casuals out there ruining Smash for us all.
Yeah. Well, no filter saying Shin Megami Tensei has been big with Nintendo. They had the huge cross-platform promotion with Fire Emblem plus FE2.
Yeah.
Never really my takeaway. I mean, it's all relative what you define as big. You know, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It exists. I feel like, you know, in Nintendo circles, like, people usually aren't like, oh, Shin Megami Tensei, right? It's more of like there's a fan base. I'm not saying there isn't a fan base. I think there is.
Very niche. Very, very, very
It's
niche.
all relevant. It just depends on what you define as big. Like, you know, like Metroid, that there's a lot of talk about Metroid, right? There's a lot of talk about Zelda. There's a lot of talk about Pokemon. You know, the rare days were like a whole golden age from Nintendo for, you know, like a lot of N64 fans. So it's a little different, I think. But no, yeah, Shin Megami Tensei is huge. It's a big deal.
There is Shin Megami Tensei 5, or I think it's 5 coming on the Switch.
A lot of people
sometime.
are looking forward to that. So
yeah, and
maybe I'm underestimating it because it's been a bigger deal on handheld systems, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games on 3DS also.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe that's what it is. That's what I'm missing. Yeah, and Persona 5, like, that's just kind of like, I think, one, I'm not a Persona fan, right? I'm interested in playing Persona 5. I've heard it's, like, really good. It was, like, a Game of the Year candidate not too long ago. Like, it's hailed as a really good game. Some people call it, like, one of the best games ever. So, you know, there's a fair bit of allure behind that title. It's got critical acclaim behind it. So it's interesting. Some people consider it like one of the, like, maybe the best PS4 title, right?
That's what I consider it.
That's a big deal. Shin Megami Tensei doesn't have, like, I realize Persona is like a spin-off of that. It doesn't have as much excitement as that, I would say.
I feel like Persona became a bigger series than it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did.
So, and I wouldn't say Persona's huge. It's got an audience, but it's no
Minecraft or Fortnite, that's for sure.
No.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, well, you know, it's getting we're getting to the 2-hour mark now, so I think it's time we move into Pokemon Generation 8 predictions. You guys ready?
Fair. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Let me cross off the list here. See if there's anything else I missed in the chat that I want to cover. Crimson Chin and F-Zero. Yes. But even more yes, F-Zero has the best soundtrack. 100%. Alright, so, let's revisit this. Pokemon Generation 8. A lot of talk. We're just going to come up with our predictions for what the game is, but to, you know, briefly go over it one more time. I personally think there's a I'm more than 50-50 on this. I'm like 67. I said 60 earlier, right? Yeah. It's always changing. It's going up and down. But I think there's a pretty good chance that Pokemon Generation 8 is going to get revealed this week for a few reasons. One, Generation 6 was revealed January 8th. Generation 7 was revealed February 26th. Ever since Pokemon games started being released worldwide, when it comes to a new generation, they reveal the game early, and they slowly trickle out information about the whole new generation with all the Pokemon and that stuff throughout the year. There's a lot to show off. Pokemon Company, if you look at their cycles, Pokemon's a little bit more predictable than Nintendo. Like, they are separate entities, even though Pokemon, Nintendo has some stake and stuff, and Pokemon's always going to be on Nintendo systems. They are Nintendo characters. But point is, they're a bit more predictable than Nintendo themselves, right? Because they follow a general, like, annual cycle of media, right? You kind of know when they're going to start talking about the anime, when they're going to start talking about the movies. It's a bit more predictable. And the last two generations were revealed earlier on in the year. Now, for full fairness, though, previous generations were announced later into the year, but that was before they changed around how they would share those games. Those games weren't worldwide releases. They came out at different times in different countries. So I do think that it does support the idea that Pokemon could be revealed around this time, especially with Pokemon Day right around the corner. They have been building up and now talking about one generation every day. Now, they use mostly anime footage, though, so it may not have anything to do with the games, right? But tomorrow is going to be the last generation to talk about in terms of talking about previous regions. So that's kind of some interesting information. There have been some insiders who've gotten a lot of things right before, like Mug on Twitter predicted like everything in the Nintendo Direct, and they said Pokemon soon. Then in the comments for one of their posts, they said, "Oh, I don't know exactly when, but I think next month." Right? So that kind of goes against it being this week, unless you mean like Friday or something. But so there's all of that, and some other insiders have sort of been teasing it, insinuating it as well. And personally, I just think that it makes sense to have it happen on Pokemon Day. I think it's a good time to do it, but it could happen a little bit later. They don't need to do it in February. It could be March or April. So a lot of people are sort of thinking that it could be really soon. And there's been a couple teases. I showed you some of those random pictures that you can interpret them as you will. They may be teases. They may be nothing. What's his face? Oh my god, Masuda. Masuda has been known to post pictures to tease future games. Like last year, he had several pictures with there's Pikachu and Eevee, and then he even had a Pokeball doll in the shape of exactly how Pokemon Go is. So a lot of people have looked at that. In hindsight, it was pretty clear that he was teasing Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee. So people have been paying attention to Masuda, and he did post a picture with a Weedle, and they had 226 candies. People were thinking that means February 26th, something's going to happen. Of course, people also look at like the combat power and the way they're like, oh, that's the number for Slowking and Beedrill and Nidoqueen, and they're like, oh, King and Queen, the rumors are real. Everyone's like hyper analyzed it, and people are thinking, oh, it even shows when they're going to show gameplay in April. Like I think that's a little bit much, right? It might mean nothing at all. And people are going way over the top with it. So, I don't know. But there does seem to be a lot of hints. And I do think it's probably this week. But again, you never really know. So, yeah. I think I kind of summed it up. Did I miss anything? Probably did. There's always something. I mean, if you get into the figurines and marketing of those toys and cards, like that can give you more hints maybe. Like it's a
Pokemon fans are insane.
It goes deep, man. Like people sometimes go deep with like all the conspiracy. I'm not going to say anything else. But I don't want to even say it because YouTube will demonetize me for even saying the word. You guys don't know what I'm talking about though. So, I think it goes deep.
I think the Pokemon and Smash community have both of this in common.
Yeah.
Over there,
feedback too. I've gotten some very wonderful comments.
Oh.
And the video's been received well, but it doesn't change the fact whenever the video does really well, I see some nasty comments, dude. Like the mainstream is rough. It's rough.
I've definitely gotten my fair share.
I swear everybody in the community has like a room and it's just wall to wall, like pictures of tweets and lines connecting, and over there just like it's gonna happen. They got their coffee. It's, you know, that typical thing where they're just like just dying with no sleep. It's like every person in the Pokemon and Smash community is like this.
Yeah. One little thing I want to answer, because I saw Sabbath ask this question. Doesn't Rare basically own Diddy Kong since they created him? Actually, they don't. When it came to Donkey Kong Country series, everything that was made there is owned by Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Even though Rare developed it. And actually, when Microsoft acquired Rare, some executives were under the impression that, hey, don't we get Donkey Kong too? No. You think Nintendo's going to give you Donkey Kong? Their first big game? I don't know if you guys knew that, but Donkey Kong is like what really put Nintendo on the map with their arcade machine. When they brought that over to North America, it was huge. That's a whole. That's a good video. There's probably some other videos on it, but I'll have to look into that. But talking about like how Nintendo got big in America, it's Donkey Kong, man. And it's also what led to the birth of Mario as well. So yeah, no way. But anyway, going back to what you're saying, but yeah, the fan base, man, crazy. Smash a Pokemon, we are very passionate, very passionate. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. You know, I know you guys are both, I guess, close to 50-50. Well, actually, Shift, you're a little less than 50-50.
Yeah,
Brand, you're a little higher.
Yeah.
Okay. But whenever it is revealed, though, what kind of game do you guys think we're looking at here?
I think we're looking at a game that is more ambitious than Town, but not. I think there will be people who will be disappointed, not because it won't be good and great and a nice generational leap over Sun and Moon and what we saw in Let's Go, but because I think people's expectations are too high. They're over here like, we're gonna get Unreal Engine 4 Pokemon. It's like, calm down. We're not gonna have hyper-realistic Breath of the Wild Pokemon.
Well, let me say
it's
this.
Probably not happening.
There are people who are disappointed with Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. And to that I say, I mean, what more could you have asked for? Like, they're really good. Yeah, there are ways that Breath of the Wild can improve, but it accomplished so much with one update, you know, with one new entry. Like, there's always going to be people that are going to have a problem with something. Mm-hmm. Always. There's so many people out there with so many different opinions. There's no way everyone's going to be satisfied, but I think this game overall is going to have, at least when it's first shown off, pretty widespread reception. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the hype and anticipation for this is so high that people are going to be disappointed, but I feel like we're not going to be disappointed. I don't think so.
I mean, us three and probably people in chat are probably going to be super excited for it, but I do think that there's going to be a good portion of people who expect Breath of the Wild Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you see it all the time. There's like people who will take screenshots from Breath of the Wild and just like Photoshop Eevee and a Pokemon trainer on there and say like, oh, this would be great if Pokemon was like this. Mm-hmm. And I do think that the game will be more ambitious than Let's Go, but I don't think it's going to be to that extent either.
No.
Right. I've talked about it at this point almost ad nauseum. About how there's a couple different industry insiders, right? They are, I think they're insiders, but that have said that the expectation for this next Pokemon game is Breath of the Wild tier. So I think they mean it. I think they've heard that legitimately, and I do believe it, but I just want to stress that Breath of the Wild tier can be interpreted in different ways, right? The way I interpret it doesn't mean open world Pokemon. It means that they're going to look at the series, think about what they can do that'll have some massive changes that'll greatly improve the series, right? And considering this is the most powerful hardware that a Pokemon game's ever been built ground up for it, that alone is going to equate to some really big jumps, the biggest jumps we've ever gone for a Pokemon game. So I think it's going to be a big game. I think it's going to be a big jump for Pokemon. But again, you know, that doesn't mean open world MMO with, like, you know, updated versions for Pokken level characters. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that, right? I think my expectation graphically is kind of weird. Like, I'm not expecting an open world, but I am kind of hoping it is gonna be open in the sense that you can like pick like different paths to like go through. It's not just one straight narrow path. Like, maybe like think Dark Souls, but more colorful and less dead enemies.
And depressing.
Yes. You know what I mean, right? Like Dark Souls, you can go to different places, but it's not open world, technically speaking. But you can, there's different paths you can go. There are some openish areas. But overall, it's structured. It's kind of more like the older Zelda games.
I'm thinking
like Twilight Princess,
like,
maybe.
You're talking paths, but like different paths that don't go kind of lead to the same place.
Non-linear paths.
So I'm thinking like a Metroidvania game.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
3D Metroidvania game.
I'm thinking like Ocarina of Time, except dungeons are, what do you call it? The gyms. You can go to different dungeons at different times when you're an adult, but you can't just go like to any of them. There's options. So you can go to different gyms at different times, but you have options for separate gyms, but you can't go to like completely open.
Let me ask you a question. When you say times, do you mean like, oh, you can only go to this gym at night and morning, or do you mean more like after a certain point of progression in the game, you can then access some gyms?
Oh yeah, obviously like Ocarina of Time, where you can go to different...
I'm just telling you, some people might hear you say that and think you mean, oh, so I can only go to the flying gym at 10:30?
Not times of day, times of progression through the story.
Game. Yeah. I would like that. Like, I mean, there's been minor openness to earlier Pokemon games. Like in Gen 1, you could the middle gyms, like I think it's, what is it, like 4 through 6, you can kind of do in any order technically. But yeah, I kind of like that. Like maybe the first 2 or 3 gyms you can do it in a certain way, the next 4 to 6 another way, and the last 2 in another way, and they would scale depending on how many gyms you have in terms of Pokemon teams and stuff. That way you can replay the game and have a slightly different experience as well. I would prefer that. I would really like that. And that also enables story too, because once you get to a certain point, then the story kind of updates, and then when you get to another point, story updates. Then again, like there could be certain objectives, and it doesn't necessarily update every badge where the team's like, oh, we're gonna do this. Like it kind of, there are points you need to make in terms of progression, but that doesn't mean the characters themselves can't have their own stories and side quests and stuff, because that's always part of Pokemon. That'll always still be there. There'll always be lore building and history as well. I kind of see that. That's what I want.
And I do agree that when they say Breath of the Wild tier, they don't necessarily mean, it'll be basically Breath of the Wild. But I feel that, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who interpret it as that.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of people who expect, open world Pokemon with Pokken graphics and Pokemon running around like they do in Let's Go and, that kind of thing. And I agree with you. I don't think that's what they mean, obviously. Like, I feel it's just a way of saying that it's going to be a big leap forward for the franchise.
Right. There are going to be some changes, too. It's going to be, I would say it's a little dramatic, but yeah, not that. And you're right. Is this a little bit of an extra expectation there that might be a bit much. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. But, I mean, I still feel like it's going to be huge. Like, so, actually, do you buy into that, by the way? Either of you guys, about the whole rumor about it being Breath of the Wild tier, and since we've clarified what we think that means, right? Like, we don't have to say again, no, not open world, but just like that big kind of jump, that high expectation. Like, I am thinking personally that if you look at Nintendo's lineup this year, right, none of those games strike me as Game of the Year contender, except, unless from what we're hearing about Generation 8, do you think maybe the changes for Pokemon Generation 8 could put it in that conversation?
I think it totally depends on what they do exactly. Because Pokemon fans can consider one thing to be a giant leap, but the overall gaming community might not see it as that.
Right.
So, they can totally, like for Pokemon fans, I think like the removal of gyms in Sun and Moon and having trials instead, for some fans, they saw that as a pretty big different change. But for most people, just didn't feel that way because they still felt that Sun and Moon was mostly the same as we typically get.
Well, see, and actually, I really like what they did with it, but at the same time, I feel like it really isn't that different because even with gyms, there's like a little bit of a challenge to them. It's usually not just go fight gym leader. Sometimes it is, but you know, there is like a little bit more to mix it up. And just on that note, though, I would like it if gyms were to become. I want them to move more in that direction. Like, I want there to be some sort of mini game or challenge. I want it to feel kind of like a dungeon, like not like a full-scale Zelda dungeon, but maybe more like a shrine in Breath of the Wild. Like, there's some sort of challenge you have to accomplish before you move on. It could be a puzzle. It could be some movement around. It could maybe be. I heard the Game Explain guys. They had a great idea. Like, what if like in the Orange Islands, right from the show, like you had to like do sort of like mini game. Like, what if there was like a mini game for that gym that you have to perform and do well in before you can move on to fight the gym leader? Like, I would love that. So I do like the idea of that, but I also agree with you. Well, you didn't say, you were just saying some people were. I actually kind of agree with that sentiment a little bit. I think the trials were basically just slightly more in that direction of having that challenge before the gym leader, because they sort of experimented with gyms already. So it wasn't really that big of a change, in my opinion. It was a change. Right. And actually, the bigger change to me was ride Pokemon. I really loved ride Pokemon. It made the world more immersive and interactive. It made it feel more like an adventure platformer a little bit. And I really hope they go deeper into that. Like, I want to be able to use Pokemon like to climb, right, or to run around. And I want it to feel more immersive, more interactive in that way. That would be really cool. Really go into using Pokemon in interactive ways to use them to interact with the environment in an exciting way. That was something I thought was big, and I thought they were moving in a really good direction. Also with Sun and Moon, they changed the camera around. It was closer to like, it wasn't quite there yet, but it was closer to more of a third-person action adventure along the lines of an old Zelda or Dark Souls. Not there yet, but closer, you know what I mean? And it was no longer on a grid-like structure. Like, there was, the paths were, you know, a bit more organic looking, and you could kind of cross paths a little bit, move around. It wasn't just like X and Y axis and that's it, you know?
Right. And I do agree that with the Breath of the Wild tier, like, example, I just don't think it'll be specifically like Breath of the Wild.
Right.
I think
we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change for Pokemon, but what they determine is that big change. We don't know what that is.
Right. And there's several things they can do. There are so many things they can do, right? They could go deep into the online features, which we know, you know, that's maybe not the most likely scenario, but it's one option, right? They could go really deep into how you interact with the Pokemon. Like, it's really like maybe the Pokemon, like you can treat them more like pets. Maybe there's different ways to catch Pokemon. I had an idea where they really go deep into how you interact with Pokemon in the world. Like, you'll see an Apom moving in the tree, and maybe the only way there's a couple of different ways you can go about to get that Apom. So maybe you have to start thinking about, oh, how do I catch this Pokemon? It's no longer about just jumping into a battle. It's like, oh, okay, there's an Apom in the tree. What do I do to get it? Maybe you shake the tree. Maybe you throw an apple. So maybe, and there's different ways. Maybe what you do can agitate the Pokemon or encourage the Pokemon. Maybe there could be additional catching stats. So maybe if you headbutt the tree or you knock down the tree, the Apom will fall, get hurt, and they get angry. So then it gets hostile and you have to fight it. But maybe instead, if you bait it out with an apple, then it's like, oh, you gave me an apple. So then maybe it's a little easier to catch it. Like, so maybe depending on the Pokemon, its type of behavior, there are different like activities you could do in the overworld to bait that Pokemon in, right? Maybe there's traps you can set, take pictures, give treats, candy, different things, you know. I would love it if they did that. That's one way they could kind of go forward with the series. What do you think about that idea, guys?
I think what you're describing sounds a lot like how Shin Megami Tensei handles demons.
Okay. I mean, that's the reason I should play Shin Megami Tensei. Yeah.
The only difference is that, because Shin Megami Tensei, typically when you interact with a demon, they give you this kind of conversation kind of tree, I guess, and you just kind of talk to them. And if you know how the demon responds to certain things or what their personality is like, then you know how to, you know, talk to them. So Pokemon in a way could do something like that, but if they can have that kind of system but have it completely, you know, in the overworld, so you can do the examples like you mentioned, the apple with the tree and all that.
Yeah, it would require Pokemon in the overworld, which it did with Let's Go to agree, but I want them to have better AI, and obviously the camera, I want it to be kind of pulled down more to feel more like a Zelda or a Dark Souls in terms of camera perspective, just so you guys know what I mean, right?
Right. So I think something like that is entirely possible. Because again, it would just require just the overworld being more detailed, which I'm sure the Switch is capable of doing that, and also have a system similar to what Shin Megami Tensei has.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Pokemon Sun, the transition between Generation 4 to 5 to 6 and 7, it does look like they're moving in that direction, right? Like Pokemon Sun and Moon, it got out the grid structure, the camera was pulled down a little closer, right? It wasn't it was no longer like top down. It was at an angle, but a high angle, right? And it was, they are moving in that direction, I think. So I feel like the next step could be, like that, like a traditional third person action adventure. I think that's possible. That would be huge for me if they did that. What we're talking about, that would be huge. Like that alone would be huge. Like branching paths, we can get to badges in different ways, interact with the Pokemon. I guess like Shin Megami Tensei, I need to play it now. Like that with a camera you can control. Do you guys agree with the controlling camera, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that honestly, when a lot of people mention open world Pokemon, they always have the camera perspective in that way you're suggesting. So I feel like if they did that, it would make people more excited, even if it's not the same thing they're talking about.
Right. And some people I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand what open world means, right? Like it's kind of maybe a little bit of a blurred line situation, because sometimes a game may seem open world, but it isn't really, right? Like Wind Waker, they create the illusion of an open world, but it's technically not, right? Basically, open world, as I understand it, it's like one giant environment that's constantly loading up, where there's no load screens. You seamlessly go from one place to another. There's no pauses or breaks in between. It's a very large environment, and that's basically an open world, right? Do you guys have anything to add to that or tweak?
I feel that's mostly right, but what I kind of slightly disagree with the loading screen part, because if you play something like the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, there's loading screens to get into towns, unless you mod it in your PCs. But
is it only if you fast travel, right?
No, if you walk to Whiterun, you have to press like whatever is the A button. If you're playing Xbox, you would have to press the A button, open the door, and then it loads in. Like you have to load the game from there, and it loads in for every time you enter a store too. But I think for me, open world means that the entire world that the game takes place in is completely traversable on foot. That's what I feel it is, because like if you can go from one side of the map to the other without having to go to a menu and hitting a button to go to that location, then I feel it's not entirely open.
Okay, so segmentation versus non-segmentation. I see what you mean. I agree with that part. I guess describing it without having loading screens when there is sometimes loading, I guess that can kind of happen. And I mean, technically, if you like in Breath of the Wild, like you can technically do some crazy stuff to the point where if you launch yourself fast enough, the game will stutter, like to the point where you'll be still for a moment while the game loads everything up. Which we technically
do that normally
it would
sometimes.
Oof. So yeah, no segmentation. I agree with that. I think that's a good way to describe it.
It just needs to be.
But even then, occasionally, I feel like there are some examples where an open world where there is still segmentation.
I feel like it's non-open world if you have to progress through the story in order to unlock new areas. Except in minor cases like Breath of the Wild getting off the Great Plateau. That's not completely the same thing. But in like a game like Xenoblade, where you have to go to an area to get to it through the story, that's not open world. It has big environments that are open, but it's not an open world because you can't go anywhere.
Call it open world too. It's a blurred line situation because for Xenoblade 2, a lot of people call it open world. It's not technically open world.
Yeah, right. I agree. And the same thing goes for The Witcher 3. There's certain locations in that game that you can't access unless you go to a map and hit the button and travel there.
Right. So I guess one way to kind of describe it is like an open world is like it's trying to create this illusion it was one giant living environment, right? Where there's no breaks, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with that. Pokemon won't be that.
No, I don't think so.
I think if it.
Well,
If
the other thing is it Metroidvania-ish, right? Like, you can continually go from one point to another, but it's like different sections as you kind of go through them.
Right. I feel the best case scenario for Pokemon will either be a Metroidvania style map or something that is closely resembling open world by kind of having sections like kind of what Xenoblade does.
Yeah, but it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna have like a giant draw distance, and you're not gonna be able to like get on a mountain and just jump all the way down. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Interesting question. So, would you define the original Xenoblade as open world?
No.
Because it basically is Xenoblade 2, just giant sections.
Yeah. It has a big world, but it's not. You can't go anywhere at any time. You have to progress the story to get to a new place.
And they have like transitioning area. It's such a weird, so
That
weird. Because even in Xenoblade, like Xenoblade, you could do some crazy stuff. And back then it was crazier because the Wii was like really weak. But like, you remember, Shifty, did you play Xenoblade?
Yeah.
So you know when you get to the jungle area and there's like this giant waterfall.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw that, I was like, huh, I wonder if I could jump down. And I jumped like 1,000 feet down. I was like, oh, you can. And I just fell in the water. I was like, oh, okay. Wow, how do I get back up? It takes me like an hour to get back. But it's huge, man. It's huge. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be like that. I think the best way to sort of think of it would be kind of like Twilight Princess. I think that's how it could kind of be.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. Because as for it to be open world, I think it just needs to be, the whole map just has to be totally accessible without there being some kind of like press A at this menu to teleport to this new location.
Yeah. Do you guys who played Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire?
I played it.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember when you get to unlock the Latios part where you can fly around the map?
Yeah.
That was so cool. I loved that. That was a dream come true. I don't think that'll be in this game.
Probably just for post game, maybe.
Maybe post game, and at that point, it's like it. But at that point, it's like pretty much open world. But maybe like what it is you have to load. They load up a sky, like a giant sky area that you can see the world, but you're not actually in it, right? So when you go back down, it's like loading down, like basically just how it is in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, just with better graphics.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense. Man, but imagine if it was all seamless. That would be insane. Insane. Yeah, so do you have any other ideas how this could be? Like, I feel like we're all, like, saying similar stuff. Like, interactive Pokemon, like, third-person camera, kind of like older Zelda games at least. Metroidvania sort of progression. Like, get a certain... You don't have to get the same badge in the same order. Like, these are all the kind of things we want. Like, do you have any other ideas what direction they could take the series?
I don't know. I guess we haven't talked too much about graphics other than it's not gonna be like a photorealistic.
It's gonna look better than Town.
I'm expecting better than Town, but not like Breath of the Wild. You know what? Breath of the Wild honestly is an old. It's a game based on old hardware. I could see it obviously not being to that scale of the world, but that scale of graphics. Because honestly, Breath of the Wild is beautiful mostly because of like draw distance and getting on a mountain and seeing huge, gigantic environments. It's not the most graphically like impressive, gigantic technical showcase, to be honest. I mean, it was a Wii U game, open world Wii U game. It's not, when you look at it as a just by itself on each, like, without looking like at the hugeness of the world, it's not gigantically impressive. So I feel like they can get something that looks that beautiful in Pokemon Gen 8. Like, it's no Red Dead Redemption. It's a simple art style that looks good mostly because of the scale, to be honest.
So I don't think, like, the lighting will look as good. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to look at the sky in Pokemon and be like, oh my god, this looks just like Breath of the Wild good. Like, no.
I think they will.
maybe, but
honestly, it's not.
I think it'll look good. I think there will be actually a dynamic like real time weather. Actually,
okay.
I think that'll be a thing. They'll bring that back. I think the day and night cycle will be back. I think that'll be back. But I don't think it's gonna be like you're gonna look at Breath of the Wild. It's gonna be like the Breath of the Wild sunsets. Like those blow so many games out of the water. Like I don't think that this Pokemon is gonna look that good in terms of that. I don't think the draw distance is going to be nearly as good.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like in terms of scope, it's not going to be as impressive.
A lot more scaled down in terms of scope. Like, you're not going to be able to see as much as Breath of the Wild, right? You're not going to be able to look on a mountain. Well, there may be some moments, but it's not going to be like a constant, persistent thing where you can see all of this going on in the background.
In terms of just detail, like, I think they could, if they wanted to, depending on what style they want to go, they could get something as detailed as Breath of the Wild. They could get some nice, flowing grass and flowers and bushes if they wanted to. It's possible. I don't know if that's what the art style they'll go for. It might be something a little more simplified, but it's possible. Because it's, honestly, Breath of the Wild is not the most technically impressive game. In terms of just without taking scope into account.
Right, but there's other things about Pokemon that are pretty demanding. Like, they have so many these different Pokemon designs to do. And if they're going to... Actually, another interesting question. Do you think they're going to finally update all the Pokemon models? They've been using the same Pokemon models since...
Oh, yeah.
Like,
they have to.
When did they announce X and Y? 2013? Yeah, 2013. They've been using the same Pokemon model since 2013.
I think they're gonna have to upgrade them all. Or, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
Over 800 Pokemon, and with the next generation, that could be 900.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Additional forms, which are other models as well.
I would not be surprised if not all Pokemon are catchable Pokemon or usable, just because it's too much work. I think they'll slowly build it back up to what it was, but it's just such a big leap. They might not have... Because you imagine how much time that would be to upgrade models to actually look good in this day and age. 800 freaking models.
Well, the thing about that, though, is that never before has there been a Pokemon game where you can't transfer the Pokemon into your game and have it in there and usable. Like, maybe they're not all catchable within the world, but... You can still trade it in, transfer it from previous Pokemon games, and it could still be in your game. Every Pokemon still will have Pokedex entry, will still be playable and usable. So that what you're suggesting would be something they've never done before, where some Pokemon are literally just not in the game at all. I'm not sure if I'm skeptical of that. I understand because it's bigger game, bigger budget, maybe, but I wouldn't bet that some Pokemon will not be literally within the coding. Like, I don't think that. I think every Pokemon...
Well, how are they going to deal with that? Because it's kind of... Either they don't do a big leap, because there's... or they have an insanely big team working on just the Pokemon models, or they just don't have all of them in there fully modeled. Maybe some of them use their old models. Because those are the options when you have 800 models to go through.
I feel like because they have to go through so many models, they probably won't have the overworld look as nice as Breath of the Wild.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I feel like they're going to prioritize having all the Pokemon to some capacity in the game just because they know people are going to want to trade their stuff in, and they're not going to be happy if they know they can't trade in their favorite Pokemon in there.
Exactly. So you kind of have to, like, trade off resources, like... You have to put more resources into getting all the Pokemon done, so as a result, you can't push time and effort into something else. It's a little bit of a give and take. I do think this Pokemon has the biggest budget yet, right? Like, I'm sure it's the biggest Pokemon project yet. But it would be hard for me to believe that Pokemon won't at least be available somehow in the game. Somehow.
Okay. It's just for me.
Never happened before.
For me, I'd rather be able to have, like, maybe like a couple hundred of the Pokemon, not all of them, maybe like half, and have a better game. Because, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not a huge Pokemon fan and I don't care about having every Pokemon. I want the new experience. I don't want to be like, oh, I can play as all 800 Pokemon, but I'm sacrificing what Pokemon could be in order to get that. Like, I screw those Pokemon. I want the next generation to be everything it can be and not be held back.
One other trade-off could just be not updating the models that much, right?
But that's a huge trade-off for me. That's gigantic.
I mean, there's things you can do that are pretty simplistic that can make the models look pretty good. Like, I don't expect the models to look like Pokken.
No.
No way.
I mean, I feel that for how long this game has been in development for, it's probably, you know, possible that they could do some pretty ambitious things with the game and still have the models. But I do think that to some capacity, if they decided to upgrade the models, they won't be that much better looking than Let's Go.
Right.
Okay.
That would maybe the game has a better lighting engine. Maybe the particle effects are really good. Like, honestly, I thought Pokemon Battle Revolution looked pretty good, especially for its time. Like, imagine Pokemon Battle Revolution, but cleaner polygons, better particle effects, better lighting. That'd be great for me.
I do think that for me anyways, like, yeah, I know like updating the models would be a big benefit for Pokemon, but personally, I would rather, if they had to choose between these two things, I would rather them just really go hard on the animations, because Let's Go's animations are...
That's what I want. I want them to feel really animated. I want the battles to feel more lively. I want more movement. I don't want it to feel static. I want them... I brought up Pokemon Battle Revolution. Did any of you see or play that before? In Pokemon Battle Revolution, you actually see the Pokemon, whenever they do a physical attack, they run up towards the other Pokemon and attack them. I want to see that, right? I don't just want them to stay in one place and then just have particles fly out of their butt, right? Like, I want more movement. I want it to feel like watching a real battle.
Some of them actually just, like, hop in place and do a tackle or something. Like, it just looks so bad in Let's Go. That
I want the animations to definitely get overhauled, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the animations are really important to me now. Like, they're just too basic.
Yeah, that's what I would really like to see. That's something that I think they could greatly expand upon, and that would just make the games way more... They also need to speed them up a little bit, I think. Will they do that? I don't know. Also, if they have a higher difficulty available from the beginning.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's a big focus of mine. Like, I get bored of Pokemon because it's so easy. I want it to be much, much harder.
One thing that goes against Pokemon for being Game of the Year candidate, it's too easy. You don't see, like, just cakewalk games be Game of the Year contenders, right? Like, there has to be some challenge in there. Just putting that out there.
I think Pokemon could benefit a lot from a sort of New Game Plus thing, sort of situation.
My problem with New Game Plus is that means you have to play through the game to access it.
Yeah.
It's a boring game in order to get to a good game, which is why I don't like New Game Pluses.
I mean, I agree, but it's just like, with how Pokemon's like, what's the word?
That's basically what Black and White 2 did, though. They had that. Black and White 2 had additional difficulty you can unlock if you beat the game or if you communicated with someone else who did.
Yeah, because I feel that Game Freak is probably thinking about, oh, kids this, kids that. But they need it to be hand-holding and just...
But they also did... Here's an interesting thing, actually. They just did Let's Go, which was straight towards that. Like, Let's Go is easier than... Easy. Super easy. Right? Like, I feel like by doing that, that opens the door for them to maybe be a little bit more core-centric with this one. You know what I mean? Like,
I would like that.
Because I think beforehand they felt the need to sort of appeal to everyone. By separating it a little bit, it may mean that these games are a bit more core-centric. And really all they need to do is just offer another difficulty at the beginning. There's a way to be like, oh, this is normal play. Oh, this is for more veteran trainers, right? Like, something simple like that. You just be smart with the wording so people don't feel insulted, and it'll be fine. Like, the way Yoshi did it, I forget exactly how to do it, but, you know, it's like, oh, normal experience, classic. Like, they could be like, oh, classic, or, like, you know, arduous or something, you know, and then that's it. Like, I think that'll be fine. I don't think anyone will have a problem with that. Do you guys disagree?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I agree. I feel that Pokemon is...
do it.
What happened?
I don't know if they'll do it, but I think they should do it.
I mean, if there was a time that they were going to do it, it would be with this game, considering Let's Go is so easy and so catered towards that. I just want them to make it more difficult in whatever way they can, whether that's a difficulty option, a New Game Plus, whatever. I mean, preferably not a New Game Plus, because, again, like you said, that requires playing the whole game first. So,
yeah. So I'm actually seeing an interesting comment from No Filter saying Pokemon is choose your own adventure though. If you don't grind, it's tougher. If you do it, then it's easier. See, my problem with that though is that I don't like having to change the way the game flows to make it harder for me. I feel like it takes away from the immersion. I want the game to be naturally challenging. You know what I mean? Because I understand what you're saying. Like there are things I sometimes do in Pokemon, like artificially to make the game harder for me. I want it to happen naturally, organically within the game. It takes away from my immersion if I have to do extra steps to make the game harder. That's my perspective on it, at least.
Yeah, and you know, if I have to go battle a gym leader and every trainer before that point is talking about how great this gym leader is, and I beat him on the very first attempt, it doesn't really spell well for the game. And if I have to pretend like the gym leader is harder by going easy on him, then that also doesn't really feel right either. Right.
Yeah. Or picking just trash Pokemon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win.
It's like forcing difficulty into games is not fun for me. It just feels fake.
Yeah. Like for example, like the 3-heart challenge. Whenever you do that for Zelda, where you can technically choose to not pick up heart containers, and that does make the game harder. It does, and it's pretty darn hard. But I want to pick up the heart container. You know, I want it. I want to be able to pick up the heart container for the game to still be hard. Right?
And I want to be able to go do side quests and do things, everything in the game, and not be like get overpowered. And it's like, okay, I want to go catch them all and not have to be like, oh well, I went and played the game, so now I don't get to have that difficulty because I decide to actually play the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't want to decide between playing the game properly and having a hard difficulty. Like I want them; they're supposed to be both.
Right. And
right.
Another element, though, because it's not like everything about Pokemon is a cakewalk. When you get into the competitive battling, that can be challenging. And usually in the post-game, there's like a battle tower or a battle train where you can fight like a series of computer trainers in a row. You try to get to 10 wins, 20 wins, 50, 100 wins in a row, and you get more prizes for that. And that can be pretty hard. But one of the ways they make it harder, they just increase the luck of the other trainers. Like, moves that are 100% accuracy become less than 100% accuracy as you progress in these battle towers and battle trains. That's not how I want the game to get harder. I want the trainers to be smarter. Yeah, sure, an easy way is to have higher levels. That's one basic way, but I want a little bit more than that. I want them to do a bit more switching, right? Like real competitive battles, there's switching, and Pokemon game computers do sometimes do switching, but they'll like switch once, maybe twice. I think I like once or twice in my life I've seen a computer trainer switch twice ever. Like I want there to be like some reaction to that. I want them to have like strategies. You know, those are things I would like to see. When it comes to wild Pokemon, I really like the idea of like, for example, Totem Pokemon, how they have increased stats. I like that idea. It makes them feel a bit more like a boss Pokemon. They're still generally pretty easy because it's 6-on-1, right? But I would like it if there are actually Pokemon that feel like boss fights. Like they have increased stats, and they've done that with the Totem Pokemon. Even in Let's Go, when you would fight a Snorlax, for the Snorlax you would have to battle it first before you catch it, unlike every other Pokemon in Pokemon Let's Go. By the way, my dog agrees. That's why he's barking. He's like, yeah! Yeah, that's exactly what I want in Pokemon as well. But, like, I would want that. I would like it if there was increased stats. I want them to have at least some Pokemon in the game feel like legitimate boss fights, and you have to you kind of need to use multiple Pokemon to take it down, right? Kind of like other classic RPGs where you have to have a team of players to take down one giant monster. You know?
I mean, most RPGs, you go around and, there's the normal level enemies, and you go and you fight them, and you're all good. But, there's mixed in higher level enemies, and you're like, oh, gotta stay away from those guys. They'll kick my ass. They'll take out all my dudes. It'd be nice if Pokemon was like, oh, that's a vicious Pokemon roaming around, and he's gonna come. If I try to catch him, I'm not prepared. He's just gonna wipe my team. Like, that's, like, Pokemon doesn't have that. It's just like, oh, I'm a big, nasty Pokemon, and I get taken out in one hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they need to find like a good balance for that sort of thing too, because there are some games that have issues on the opposite spectrum. Like, I don't know if you've played, Assassin's Creed, the recent one?
I did.
It had this issue where you pretty much have to do a ton of side quests in order to be anywhere in the same ballpark as the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried to push. This is not something I would think Game Freak would do, but they had to push microtransactions to try to get you up there faster.
See, it's a Ubisoft thing. They did that with Assassin's Creed. They did that with a new one's coming out. That shooting game they have, that wintry one. I don't remember what it's called.
Division?
Yeah, The Division. They do that. The Division. Damn, that game is hard. You not grind. You do not win. It's not happening.
So I think difficulty is important, but let's not get too carried away with trying to make it difficult at the same time.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a grind fest.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way Xenoblade 2 handled it.
Xenoblade handled it very well.
The only problem with Xenoblade 2 is that most people, even when they beat the game, they still don't understand the battle system entirely. That's like the one issue with that. But assuming everyone understands the battle system entirely, that kind of difficulty scaling is what I kind of like. And there were ways to, actually, one thing I didn't like is I like it when, like I said, I like it when the game is organically hard and you don't have to consciously make decisions to make the game easier for you or harder for you. I don't want to have to do that. I want to go into the game knowing this is going to provide me with a challenge and I have to find a way to do it. I don't want to have to make the conscious decisions. Oh, I want the game to be harder, so I'm gonna only fight with 3 Pokemon, or change the options to set versus shift, or some things like that, or me not use items and let the trainer use. I want it to just all be organic. And in Xenoblade 2, one thing that you could technically avoid doing is that whenever you go to the inn, you could opt to not have yourselves level up. I would always have myself leveled up. It's like, oh, I want to level up. And I actually felt like I needed it because the fights are hard. So, the scaling there was a lot better. I would like it if Pokemon felt similar to that in terms of difficulty.
Xenoblade 2 was very good because I think I grinded like 2 levels once in order to beat a boss that I was just barely losing against. Like, you don't grind in that game. You just play the game naturally, and you are just strong enough to where it's a challenge, but you're not wiping through them either.
I'll say that if you do more side quests, the game is easier.
Yeah, and there are a lot of difficulty options now in Xenoblade.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, it helps out with that.
Mm-hmm. So, if it was closer to that, I'd really appreciate that. Will they do it? I don't know. I feel like they should have had a difficulty setting of Pokemon from very early on, and they did it once, and they did it wrong once. Like that's it. So, you never know. And even with Nintendo, like, hero mode, like, I wish that was a thing way earlier and made of it. They always had it, so you have to unlock it. Like Skyward Sword, you have to unlock hero mode, which is basically New Game Plus. Hated that. I wanted it available from the get-go.
In hero modes, like, it's an okay way of doing it because enemies hit harder. But the problem with Zelda is the enemies almost never actually hit you, so it doesn't help. I feel like Breath of the Wild, when I go from a red, Breath of the Wild's the worst as far as difficulty spikes because it's just like, oh, now there's blue bokoblins and black bokoblins and silver bokoblins, but they're all just as stupid as their brothers. They just take 12 years to kill. They're not any harder.
You just have to continue. You have to hit them more, and you can't rest too much because their life regenerates. That's it. I would have wished that they made them smarter, or they added a dynamic that it changed the actual situation of the fights, right? Maybe just add an additional bokoblin there, or give the bokoblins like an elemental weapon, or something to mix it up more instead of just we take more. We can take more hits, right? That was
the one good thing they did was the the platforms with the balloons, and they would shoot you from up there.
Yeah, that mixed things up. That was interesting.
Yeah,
cool. They needed more things like that.
Yeah, like actually things that change around how you play. Like, that was cool. One thing I liked about Skyward Sword, though, is that in Skyward Sword there were no hearts, so you had to rely more on the potion system, which I thought was really well done, but the game was so easy in the initial playthrough because you just collect hearts with grass that you never really felt the need to use potions. So, I feel like Hero Mode for Skyward Sword kind of completed the game a little bit more. But because I already played through it, I didn't feel like going through the entire game in Hero Mode, so,
But Skyward Sword was nice because every enemy felt different to fight, and they got increasingly more challenging to actually hit.
Yeah. Some people kind of get frustrated by Skyward Sword because they would always react to it, which angle you would... Like if you telegraphed your hit, they were like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna block it here if you try to come from here." So you have to like be fast about it.
The other problem is people are used to waggle controls, so they go to Skyward Sword and they go and they're like, "Why isn't this working?"
Where's the princess? Yeah, I know.
Whereas in Skyward Sword, you actually have to be kind of precise.
Yeah.
Thing with purpose.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Just bringing things back to Pokemon. Yeah, a lot of difficulty, but we'll see how that happens. Like it's something I want, but it's not something I would predict. You know what I mean? That's a wish, not a prediction. I do predict that the game will look better than Town. I predict that. I predict that the game, even if it's not exactly how we're describing it, if you look at the direction between 4, 5, 6, and 7, and of the generations, how the camera's been kind of changed up and the movement has been a little bit more freeform, they'll continue to move in that direction. So even if we don't quite hit what we want right now, it'll be closer to that. What that means exactly? Well, I hope it means what we've been talking about, right? But it might be, maybe like the camera isn't fully controllable, but the camera's a little bit more dynamic, right? And there is a bit more, like you do get to see things closer to that perspective. That might be like the middle ground. One thing, because I'm friends with some Pokemon fans that aren't necessarily, they care mostly about Pokemon, not other things. So they're not really good at other games. And when I talk about, you could like control the camera and stuff, they're like, well, I don't want that. That sounds confusing. Like, there may be that Game Freak may have that, keep that in mind, and they're like, well, then you don't need to. But I feel like most games these days have gotten so good with camera controls that you usually don't have to do too much adjustment. It's just more like, I want it just so I can look around more myself, to appreciate the environment more. Like when I played Let's Go, especially when I played Let's Go with in portable mode, because I'd be holding it, like this with my hands on 2 different controllers. So I have access to the right analog stick, but it's useless. Like I always felt the need to turn and look around with a camera, but that was never an option. So I feel like it is at a point where, hey, if you're holding a game controller with 2 analog sticks, people are gonna be like, hey, I want to look around. You're gonna feel that. Did you guys play Let's Go?
Yeah, I did.
Did you know what I'm talking about when you play in portable mode? Like you're holding a controller with both hands. I felt like using the right analog stick to look around all the time. Never could, obviously, but I feel like there's gonna be that desire if they don't do it.
I think so, yeah, because I feel the only reason why I think Let's Go did such things like that is because they wanted the whole game playable on one controller, just so you can, give it to another person and also be able to throw the ball like that and, have all those things. So if they're not focusing on the casual aspect of it and they have it so that it's, just a single player experience, then yeah, they're probably going to do that, especially since all the other consoles they've had Pokemon on before, at least, yeah, they didn't have another stick. At least not really. I need the new 3DS had one, but
I want to go back and look at Pokemon XD and Pokemon Coliseum, because those were actual third-person adventures.
Yeah, they were.
Right.
If Pokemon's like that, I'd actually be pretty upset because that was pretty limited. Definitely wouldn't want, because it was still like the camera positions were fixed. I don't want fixed camera positions. That'll upset me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a new mainline Pokemon game on a system with 2 sticks that you're gonna have at all times, you might as well make it so that we can use it.
Yeah,
right.
And actually, I would even say Pokemon Sun and Moon is a step above the GameCube Pokemon games in terms of how and presentation and experiencing the environment, because that you got a pretty good look at the environment. It was like panned out, like the Coliseum and XD games. From what I remember, it's been years since I've played them, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, and don't kill me, please. But like, they were just fixed camera positions. Like what you saw was very limited.
I remember.
That I hope is not the case. I hope they don't do that. That would be disappointing. I would be a little disappointed with that. Doesn't mean I wouldn't like the games. There's so much, like, look, dude, like Let's Go. If Let's Go had like a unique story, and the battles were a little faster, it would have been an amazing game. It was a good game, but it wasn't amazing. Those 2 little things would have made the game amazing for me. Also, better difficulty because it was a cakewalk and a half.
I just feel like Town has that third person's perspective, and from what I can tell, just judging on the camera angles and everything, it looks like a fully controllable 3D camera. Like so for Pokemon,
Houston agrees with you. You hear him barking, he's like, "Yeah, Brandon, you tell him."
There you go. Yeah, I mean, if Pokemon Gen 8 didn't have that and Town had that, I'd be like, "What the hell? What is happening?" I'd be confused. If Town is a more ambitious game than Pokemon Gen 8, like what? Why? How would that happen?
Yeah, I agree with you. Seeing Town gives me a bit more hope on this, because I have to imagine Generation 8 will be more advanced than Town. Because Town seems like a small budget game.
Yeah, it looks like a side project.
Maybe it was even used as like experimentation for what they could do with Generation 8, right? Like maybe it looks a little bit like Town. I mean, maybe that's it, except the scope's a little larger.
I think it will look like Town, but with more refined. I think it won't have that really crappy like 3DS grass that Town has. If you know what I'm talking about, like the really pixelated, crappy ass.
I do not expect the graphics for Let's Go to be as impressive as Breath of the Wild.
No.
Yeah.
Although the battles maybe the battles could be a spectacle. Because here's the thing though, so like Xenoblade X, I mean any Xenoblade game really, but like when you see an enemy in the overworld, you approach it and you fight it. Like that's it. It'd be cool if Pokemon was kind of like that, except when you get to an enemy, maybe the camera dynamically shifts closer in, so it feels more like a traditional like stadium kind of battle. That'd be really cool to see.
I mean, Town. You don't go into a different arena; you just fight the enemy.
Interesting
point. Like,
interesting point.
I pointed that out in my How Pokemon Gen 8 might look video.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. And actually, if you look at Fire Emblem, it kind of does something interesting. Like they do that shift, that camera shift. That's an interesting thing. But I hope Pokemon's not that panned out. Like
no.
And they need to do that for Fire Emblem because it's a strategy game where you have to plot out where your units go. So that obviously for that the camera has to be far out until you get into the battle. But I like that shift though. So
yeah, it was very nice.
So maybe I guess it depends exactly how the camera works, but I would love it if for a battle the camera shifts a little bit. That'd be really cool to see. Maybe they even give you control of the camera during a battle. That'd be interesting too, because you've never been able to do that in previous Pokemon games. Having control over the camera, that'd be interesting.
They could, and try to make it as flashy as possible since it's turn-based anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be super cool. And then the environment would just be basically where you're playing. Which would put a limitation on how grandiose the battles could be, though. So that's one thing. But
possibly
just jumping straight into the battle when you go into a Pokemon without even like shifting, like without any cuts, like it just moving in, would speed up the gameplay a little bit too. That would probably make the game a little better. This is cool.
That's true.
This is cool. I like this idea, and just I think Brandon, you bring up an interesting point about Town. Like, so we should all go watch the Town trailer and see everything they do in the Town trailer. Imagine it a little bit better than that. That's what Generation is. A little bit better than Town.
Go watch my video I made about how Gen 8 could look. I pitted the two most similar games, which is Town and why can I never remember the name of this game? Maybe because it's not that great. Yokai Watch 4 on the Switch. I pitted those games. I took different graphical things from them, and I suggested when I thought Pokemon Gen 8. Go watch that video, guys. Just go watch it. It's good. It's a good video. Good ideas there.
Man, I like this. Could have watched Town and watched Brandon's video. Gen 8's gonna be a little bit better than that. That gives me hope. That gives me hope. Like any doubt. When you just thinking about Town, it would be a shock if the game was less ambitious than Town.
And I like how Town looks for the most part. I think it's clean. It's got nice textures. The lighting's great. There's some pretty big vistas where you can in the trailer first opens, you can see like the castle in the background, and the camera angle's real. It actually pushes out pretty far. Like you can see a pretty good ways. It's not like Breath of the Wild, but you can see a good ways.
The game is actually getting revealed this week. God,
thinking
about it, just getting me so hyped. I want it so much. God, please, I need it. It's my most anticipated game from 2019. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be the best. You heard it here, not first. But if you didn't, you did.
You know what's happening? Town is their ambitious graphical title, and Pokemon is where they know it's gonna sell anyway, so they
make
just
it casual.
Yeah, they make it so casual. But Town, that's the hardcore graphical
pen
experience.
at you in my head. My pen at you went straight through the screen into your face. Hit a portal, went from Jersey City to I was gonna say Australia.
Oh my!
to Houston, Texas.
I've been wounded.
Yeah. Don't even play, sir. Oh my goodness. I'm excited. I'm excited. And again, actually, what are your opinions on getting hyped up about things, then it maybe not necessarily happening to our expectations? Like, you know, sometimes I try to, even though, like, I'm really excited for this, but I try to always mention, hey, look, even though I'm really excited for this, I think it's happening, it might not happen, right? Like, I try to stress that, but also, I think it's okay to hype things up and get excited about it. Personally, like, you know, it happens when it happens, right? Like, I'm okay with being wrong about stuff, that's fine. That's how I feel about it. But I know some people are like, oh, don't even hype it up. You're going to get us all disappointed. Some people feel that way. Where do you guys stand on that?
See, I don't have this problem because I never truly believe the things I hype up. And no matter what it is, if I'm excited for it, I'm going to hype it up to Kingdom Come. And it's going to be the second coming of video games. So I always have this, and I'm always at least a little bit disappointed. So I'm like, okay, you know, as long as it's within reasonable expectation, I'm happy with it.
Okay.
Right.
So, well, Shifty, you go. Unless you
Yeah,
have what to say.
I was just gonna say that I feel like it's okay to have high expectations for, you know, a game you're excited about, or, you know, anything you're excited about realistically. But you also have to be able to, you know, have the ability to understand that those are high expectations.
Right.
So
right.
it's not likely that you're going to get what you want. And you shouldn't be surprised if the company that you're hoping does big things just ends up doing the thing they always do.
Right. And you got to be prepared for that. Like, so during the Wii U was an interesting time because I was always hoping, like, hey, am I gonna, like I said it earlier, like the Wii U for me, well, I had some decent multiplayer games. What I care mostly about are those single player epic adventures, and the only one we got was Xenoblade X, and it was good. I love Xenoblade X. It's my favorite Wii U game, basically, minus Breath of the Wild, but I got it on the Switch, so I don't count that. I was always disappointed. Never got my Metroid. I 3D World, while I enjoyed it, I 100%ed it, so I must have enjoyed it, right? Like, because there's some hard levels. You have to work hard to 100% that game.
Yeah.
It was disappointing to me a little bit because it wasn't quite the Mario game I wanted. It felt very 2.5D. The camera, you couldn't fully control the camera. It basically was like 3D Land HD. And on the 3DS, I was like, damn, this is a cool Mario game. But I felt like my expectations were a little bit higher for a Mario game on the Wii U, Nintendo's first true HD system. And what I wanted was Mario Odyssey. And I didn't get Mario Odyssey till the Switch, right? So I was disappointed with that. You know, but I still liked it. But the point I'm just trying to make here is that with the Wii U, there was a lot of times where I was disappointed. A lot. It was a lot of it. I have high expectations for Nintendo because they make the best games in the industry, and they didn't during the Wii U. Now, they had a lot of quality games, but none of them were like Game of the Year candidate kind of games.
I think 2015 was like the most disappointing game for video games that ever for me personally. Just because 2014 had like Zelda and promise of Star Fox and had all these great promises, and 2015 came around and it kind of didn't materialize in anything for a long time. And I think that was we got in that spring, I think we got the delay of Zelda announcement. No Zelda at E3. Like, that was the most disappointing time for me. And because that's when I was just getting into like actually looking into video game news the couple years before, so I didn't really have a big history of that until then.
Heartbreaking.
So My first
nearly as
E3 was
heartbreaking as Metroid Prime
2014.
4.
My first E3 was 2014. I was just like, oh god, E3 is the best thing ever. And then I saw E3 2015. I was like, what is this shit? It's terrible. There's nothing.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes when we have a really good E3, we're thinking the next one's going to be just as good. No. Like when the Wii first came out, like within almost about a year, or like within 15 months, we got a Zelda game, we got Twilight Princess, Galaxy, Super Smash Brothers, and Metroid Prime 3. Like that was all like, yeah, within like 13, 14 months of each other or something. That was like, oh snaps! Like these games are all huge, and the next year it wasn't really even close to that. So the times have been different, but now we're in a different era where there's a lot of games, right? Mm-hmm. A lot more games. Nintendo output is a lot more efficient now. They have a lot more third-party support, so it's a different time. It's no longer the era of droughts where there's like no game, not even like back in the day, like Wii U, like there were months where there was just nothing to play. Nothing.
Yeah, I can probably name just only 4 games that I really liked on the Wii U enough to say I liked it that much, but everything else was just like, oh, that was pretty good.
There were games that I bought day one and I never finished on the Wii U. Several games that I never finished because I just didn't. It was not worth my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I had to get used to disappointment during that era. Disappointment was a frequent thing, and I wonder if that's kind of affected the Nintendo community now, where I feel like there's a lot of people who they're very careful to get their expectations up because we've gone over in the Wii U era. We were very accustomed to disappointment. Like
it humbled us.
It was very humbling, yeah. It was kind of more like the Wii U era trained us to expect disappointment, basically.
It was more than humbling. It was scarring.
Right. Which is why I don't think it's really fair because Nintendo's in a different situation now. I always expect games, and I think it's fair. For example, if Nintendo puts up like a Wii U like Direct, right, where it's like there's not really anything. It's like one good game for a year or 2 games. Like you should be disappointed. That's Nintendo not doing a good job. But like for example, the February Nintendo Direct, even though I didn't get games I expected, it was great. Like I was hoping to see Metroid Prime Trilogy and Animal Crossing. Didn't get that, but instead I got 2D Zelda, Mario Maker, and Astral Chain. So it was no game I saw coming. But they were all great. So, for me, that's great because it's still games. It still gives me games to play this year that I'm really excited about, and that's fine. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective to have because I think, and I understand it to an extent, but there's a lot of people out there that if they don't get this specific thing that they're hoping for, they think the Direct or whatever it is, the company that they like, even if it's not Nintendo, they feel like it was bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like that you need to have the ability to be able to, even if it's not a series that or if it's not a series that you're typically into, as long as it's a series of quality, or if it looks like it's made by talented developers, then who knows? Someone out there is excited too. So I think it was good today in that argument.
Yeah, I feel like it's to the point where people expect every game in a Direct to cater to them. So even if there's like a few games that they don't like, they're like, oh, I was bored during this part of the Direct because I didn't happen to be one of the people who was excited for this game. The Direct sucked. Yeah. It's like, I was only excited for 3 or 4 games during the Direct. Like, that's 3 or 4 games that you were hyped over the moon about. Get over it.
Could you imagine that one F-Zero fan who's been waiting for nothing but F-Zero for years?
It's every Direct. It's terrible.
Every Direct has been awful.
Yeah.
I'm over here like, man, in the Wii U days, I'd hope for one game that I was hyped for.
Oh my god. Damn. That's hilarious. Oh. So,
I'm one of those few Animal Crossing fans that didn't lose my mind when I saw the Direct. I was like, oh, there was no Animal Crossing. That's fine. We're going to see it at E3. So, whatever.
At least you know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like hyped for Animal Crossing the Switch. I love New Life. I put well over 100 hours in that game.
I just want to say to the Animal Crossing fans, you don't know what it feels like to be an F-Zero fan, okay? Or a Metroid fan. Like, dude, I honestly felt heartbroken when they announced the Metroid Prime 4 thing. I wasn't angry at Nintendo, right? And there was a silver lining that, Retro Studios is behind this. This is more evidence that Nintendo's putting a lot of stock into this game. They want this game to be high quality. Like, the only other game that they would have had an announcement like this was Zelda. And they did that for Zelda. So to me, that tells me that the next Metroid game, when it comes out, like, this is, it's going to be Breath of the Wild tier, right? Like, this is going to be a big deal when it happens. Which is years from now.
Long time.
Yeah. So, I was heartbroken by that, but I accepted it. I moved on, and that's it. But damn, bro, I'm just saying, man, you Animal Crossing fans, you get into the game, it's coming. You also had the mobile game. You had the festival. Well, I know everyone hates the festival. At least you had something. F-Zero and Metroid fans have had nothing for over a decade. There are some
what do you mean? Metroid had Federation Force and Other M.
Don't you dare mention that. I actually bought Federation Force. I thought it was interesting, but the reason I didn't really play it too much is because it was all about co-op. And whenever I would connect and play with my friend, it would disconnect. Never could play co-op because every time we played, it would just disconnect. So, yeah, I actually think Federation Force could have been a good game. If it only had
could
better
have been.
Yeah.
If only it was on the Switch.
I'll give you the Federation Force thing because Federation Force is actually I would say Federation Force is a better game than Amiibo Festival.
No, it is. It is, yeah.
Amiibo Festival had one redeeming quality. It was that Island minigame. It was the only thing that was good. That's why it made it into the New Leaf DLC.
But at the same time, though, the whatever Federation Force on 3DS, right? You had a legitimate, arguably the best Animal Crossing on the 3DS, right? On the Wii U, there was no Metroid game, nothing.
Right.
At least on the Wii U, there was something with an Animal Crossing name on it. There's nothing on the Wii U for Metroid. Nothing. Nothing F-Zero either. Nothing Wave Race. None of that. Just doesn't. No, it has nothing. So it's different.
Yeah, at least we got a cool amiibo. It was worth more than the game.
Metroid Samus Returns was great.
I'd say the amiibo was the best part of Amiibo Festival, not even the game.
It's literally you can get the amiibo and the game for like $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a real cheap amiibo out of it. It's great, and I still haven't picked it up yet because I'm dumb.
That's okay.
And I'm lazy. I haven't gone enough ass to go to the store and pick one up.
So we're past midnight now. So if you guys have any sort of like questions or things you want us to talk about before we call it a night, shoot them in the comments below, and we'll get to them. Y'all in the comments below in the chat. It's not below. This is not a video. This is a live stream. But also, for anyone who watches this when this is archived, feel free to put your comments, and we'll see if we can address that in the next podcast. But yeah. Any final things you want to say about Pokemon Gen 8 or anything for that matter?
Guess I'm hoping it's gonna be the Pokemon that really gets me into Pokemon instead of trying it out and then getting bored after like an hour. So, because I feel like I have the potential, if they made it difficult and they really went all out, I think I would love Pokemon because I like catching and I get addicted to catching for like an hour or two and like just looking around the world, and then I go fight a trainer or like a gym later and one shot him with one Pokemon and I get bored. So if they can fix things like that and make it like the perfect Pokemon experience, I'll be so hyped. So that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm hoping for them to put a lot more stake into the story because was it Black and White? The fifth gen?
I hear Generation 5 was like universally considered like the best story.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of the stories that they've been doing since Black and White just hasn't. It's like they almost half focus on it. Almost, it's like they have a story there and they they have something good there, but they don't ever fully capitalize on it. And like Sun and Moon is a good example of that. The Ultra Beasts, they like hyped up the Ultra Beasts in the story. They made like a big deal. They gave you like all these cutscenes like leading up to it. And then when they finally become free, everyone's just like, oh, let's just go and continue our gyms. Let's continue our trials. Let's go continue our other unrelated things to the alien like beings that invaded our islands.
I do agree. There's definitely a lot more they could do with the story and how it can impact the game. Like, I remember for Ruby and Sapphire, when there was the whole... It was cool, because at a certain point in the game, like, the game looks, like, really hot, or, like, it starts to get really rainy, like, as you're leading up to the big event. That's really cool. It would be interesting if, like, they actually impacted the environment, right? Because Groudon is the Pokemon that currently controls the Earth, and Kyogre controls the sea, so, like, there's a whole, like, you know, myth story that they created the land and the sea, right? Like, what if, like, they did raise the water level or cause, like, earthquakes, and the actual level layout of the game changed? Like, something like that would be really cool to see.
It would be a cool battle effect, too. Like, if the last... Let's say you're battling some trainer in Route 1 or something, and someone... The fight ends with flamethrower, you can have some charred remains around the area just to have that effect.
Ooh, that's an interesting idea, too. Like, the actual battle affecting the terrain and you seeing it visibly... Not just during the battle, but even after it. That would be amazing. That's a really good idea. I love that. I don't think anyone's brought that up. That's super cool. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. I don't know if they'll do it, but I hope they do it, because that would be great. Wow.
I think it'd be cool. Just like, surf, and then you just see like little puddles of water everywhere because of it.
Oh, that'd be so awesome. Oh my god, that'd be so cool. That's one aspect that they could do to sort of make the game feel... like more alive. Like I would love that. That's so cool, man. Yeah, it's really cool. For me, I mean, you know, I could continue to talk about this forever. But I would say what you said. That's what I want. You know, again, I want to hire a tougher difficulty, and I do think that because of Let's Go, it does open up that window that I think that gives it more leeway to be a bit more core-centric with this one. So I am more hopeful that it'll be a bit more challenge, a bit more to detail with certain mechanics. I'm not expecting it, though, right? But I do think it's a bit more possible. It might, the game, even if there's not an additional difficulty, you do think the game might be... It's definitely more challenging than Let's Go. That thing, that's fair to say that. And I am expecting certain advancements. What those advancements will be exactly... it's hard to say, but I like the idea of gym progression be a bit more open. I think that that's something that is fairly likely. I think the world will look better than town. It's going to look better than town. And I think Pokemon are definitely going to be in the overworld. You're going to see them. I don't think it's going to... Like, random encounters, like in terms of walking into grass and not seeing anything, I think that's done. I
hope so.
That you're going to actually see the Pokemon now. Now, they will pop up randomly, though. I think that's still important because that random encounter factor, that's interesting. Maybe they can come into the world naturally, like you see them fly in, or they run into the screen, or something like that.
That's what I would like. Run out from, but like I hope it's not just like in Pokemon Let's Go where they're just like up here. Like it'd be nice if like, you know, a monkey-like Pokemon swung through the trees, and like grass Pokemon
what they could
like whittled its way out of grass, and it's like a smooth transition.
What they could do is just
existence.
Have them come out of blind spots, right? Like maybe a Ponyta or is like he's kneeling in the grass, but because it's tall grass, you just see him get up, like as if he's just getting up from laying down, and that's how he pops into the game. Or maybe like a Mankey or an Ape-Bomb is in a tree, but you can't see inside the tree, so it pops. You see it like climb out of the tree. Like things like that, I think there are ways that they could have the game Pokemon appear naturally to the world, and they would technically them being loading in, but it's masked in a way that looks organic. That's something I would really like to see too. That'd be really cool. I definitely think there'll at least be Pokemon in the overworld like Let's Go, but a little bit more advanced. I think Pokemon falling around is a thing. I think Ride Pokemon the way it was in Sun and Moon, how replace HMs, that will come back. Maybe they'll even emphasize it a little bit more. And I do think the battles are going to be a bit more of a spectacle. Maybe it is kind of like a combination of Pokemon Battle Revolution and what you said, Shifty, with like actual affecting the terrain like that, like leaving damage and stuff. That will
magnifique. Mwah. Like that, I want that. So hopefully that'll happen. It's a lot. So we'll see. Hopefully it's revealed this week. Might not be. Might be later on. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Anyways, guys, for those watching, thank you so much for listening and enjoying the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Also check out both What About Nintendo and I Am Shifty. The links to both of their channels are in the description below. Do you guys want to plug yourselves? Say anything more beyond that? Anything you guys are working on you want to talk about?
Pretty sure I've plugged like 3 videos this stream, so I'm good.
Okay.
Well, most of what I do lately has been Smash Brothers related. I typically almost daily. I didn't stream yesterday, but almost daily I've been playing with amiibos, beating the crap out of them, and then just streaming that, hanging out with the chat and whatnot. So come through if you like the sound of Smash related things, I guess.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
That's it. No, I'm not saying bye. I'm not saying bye. I'm not bye to you guys. I'm just kidding. Good night, guys. See ya.